Hey, what's going on, everybody? ChazmaN here, and we're back once again with another week of the ChazmaN podcast. As always, your favorite place to hear all of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man news and Alan Wake news. And gosh, we've missed so much. I don't know if I can keep going. How long has it been since we've
Please
been back?
stop. Don't keep going. Huh? How
Well,
long has it been?
sheesh, because we did what? Me and you
It's,
did a special episode before I got to go on vacation.
it's been a little over a month because I think we did what first week or second week of October, right after Halloween Horror Nights was the last big one. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you and me grabbed that Destiny de facto stream afterwards, and yeah, this is our first full podcast in about a month.
Yeah. I should say real quick on screen, of course, there are audio locations for anything we got going on, and also should be some social media places if you'd like to ask any questions of any kind, and of course down in the YouTube comments. I feel like that would be the quickest way, maybe. I don't know. You're already here, so. All right. So, how have you guys been?
All right.
Don't
End
zoom.
of the year, I tell you, is with my favorite
Let's
time
say don't
and
zoom in on
the
Gamer.
worst time.
He's a little out of it.
Oh yeah, he's almost done. I don't know. End of the year is just interesting for me. Like I'm super excited for everything to finally be like done and over for the year and go on Christmas vacay and all that kind of fun stuff. But I also have to get through my last few big projects for the year, which always get a little daunting. So a
It's,
little bittersweet, but
it's busy
hang
for
in there.
you because you work as a mall Santa Claus.
That's
So
right. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
And you're my overly large elf.
Yeah, there you go. I'm, that might be a pretty lucrative deal. You never know. I don't know
Hey,
how much mall
hey.
Santas get.
Well, if this YouTube thing doesn't work out for you, Chaz. So,
No, yeah. I'm sure I won't scare the kids off or anything.
metal can be our Rudolph.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Oh,
the
you prancer.
I'm sure the parents walking up won't like immediately usher their kids off. All right,
How are
so
you hanging in there, metal? You look
oh
like
yeah, good.
you're not. Are you gonna make it?
I'm dying. I'll make it.
Metal said he
Either
hasn't.
Yeah.
that.
No, he
Go
said
ahead.
he hasn't even been able to make content in a bit. He needs to get on that, right?
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah, I
started a
need to
new
get on
job,
it.
right?
Yeah, I got some new job there and it's beating me up, so, trying my best to, you know, keep in high spirits and just gonna continue.
Priorities, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sure this
Adulting.
is going to be a super short stream, so you'll be in bed in no time, except for the 30 topics we have. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
He's
thanks, Chaz.
he's still got to go live
Yeah,
after
thank
this
Jazz.
on his own channel. What was it called?
That's right.
Limbreaker?
I know, right?
Gotta go over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, right. If I do that today, I'll die.
That'd be an interesting stream. That's content.
Oh, did you like it?
Oh no, so
Something.
you said die on stream. I was like, that'd probably get removed. I would think that's probably against some sort of a YouTube policy.
Yep. No diff on stream.
Yeah. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what we got going on for this episode. We're going to be talking about a bunch of games all of us have gotten to touch on. Well, two of us have gotten to touch on. Let's see. We got more. We'll be talking about more of what was it? We wanted to kind of touch on some Game of the Year watch because we're fastly approaching. Dude, what is what's the guy? Oh, it's the Game Awards. I don't know what. I don't know why I brain farted on his on his. Oh, who is it? Jeff Keighley. There
It's
you
okay, you brain fart all the time.
go. I do. Apologies. That and then yeah, we got more speedrun topics, and then we're gonna be touching on, just we're touching on the highlights from the Horde. I don't know why my brain is just like all out of it. Anyways, so Phoenix, do you want me to talk about Alan Wake Nightmare first? American Nightmare?
Yeah. Why don't you go and kick that off, and then we can move into the sequel.
Yeah. So, kind of rounding off some of the Halloween themed gaming content I got to do. I've recently went back, played through the original Alan Wake. I went back and watched a YouTube web miniseries that they had done. I thought that was very interesting as well, just because I was in the mood for more Remedy and stuff. The one thing I didn't get to replay was Control. That's kind of something I kind of wish I would have replayed before kind of going into the game after this. But yeah, I got to finally kind of knock out the game Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Did you ever get to play that, Phoenix, back when it was on I think it was right. It was on Xbox Live back
Yeah,
in the
I
day.
feel like it was like an arcade
It
game or
wasn't a
whatever it was,
summer of
like a
arcade,
mini
right? It was like,
digital.
I don't think it was
Yeah,
one
I
of
think
those.
it was just a standalone digital release. I don't think it was like a physical copy of it. No, like the only one I've like played has been the first one, and I didn't even finish it. Like I said back in the day, and even now I'm still a little, I don't know, I'm a baby when it comes to spooky games. So I think I played like about half of it, and I think I just watched somebody play it afterwards. So I skipped over American Nightmare completely.
Yeah. I guess kind of, it's a very short experience, and I'm not gonna kind of touch on it too long, but it's a very short game. I think I beat it in like 3 to 4 hours. One really interesting aspect about it, coming off of Alan Wake, is Alan Wake for the most part, even though as you kind of get into the Remedy aspect, the once you get into their games, you kind of understand that their games, while they do have some spooky horror aspects, the games do a really great job of like mixing in times of levity, humor. I don't know, things that just seem to gel and mix well with the horror aspects, and it definitely felt like with American Nightmare, they definitely kind of ditched the more horror elements and went completely kind of more into the wacky and the weirdness, which I kind of appreciated about this, simply because it was only a 3 to 4 hour experience. If you don't know about the narrative, really the only real main kind of thrust with the story on this is Alan, of course, at the end. Well, I guess I should say spoilers. I mean, I did talk about the first Alan Wake, but at the end, Alan is kind of stuck in the dark place. He's stuck in the lake, a cauldron lake, and basically he's being, withheld. He's being withheld there by. See, it's a little up for debate. Is it Scratch, or is it something bigger than Mr. Scratch? I think the latter is what's happening, right, Phoenix? It's so because Mr. Scratch isn't like the big bad. He's like a
I
figure.
think it depends. I mean, the second game starts to dig into this without going into too
Yes.
many details,
Hmm.
but like it's the darkness, but the darkness is Scratch. So the Scratch is like a manifestation of the darkness. So I mean, I don't really know. It's a very convoluted storyline. Now refresh me. I think, at least from my understanding, American Nightmare, isn't that where Scratch is introduced, or is he introduced in the first game? I don't recall that.
Mr. Scratch is introduced in the very first game.
Okay, I must have
He's
overlooked
he's
that.
introduced, I think, through a manuscript page, and it's a very
Oh, you don't like see him or anything. They just mention it, right?
e-
You just played him, so you're the one who
no,
can
you
refresh
you
me.
do see him, but it's in like it's very quick. Like Alan, I think, is kind of in like a dark place moment where he's kind of just talking, or he's talking to himself, or kind of
Mhm.
going through whatever's happening, and he just sees he sees another him, and but it doesn't look evil or nothing. He just like doesn't understand it, and then that's all you
Right.
really see of him in the first one. And then in the second one, of course, they're like
Do they
full
refer to
fledged.
him as Mr. Scratch in the first game?
No, I don't think so. He
See,
just kind of
this is why I
says, "This is
ask.
another me," and I don't understand it. Yeah.
So the reason I ask is I know Mr. Scratch is like a big player in American Nightmare. Like he's kind of like your big bad kind of in that game, isn't he? Oh,
Hmm.
he's a much more prominent character. Until I know a lot of people probably never touched American Nightmare because it wasn't it was standalone, but it wasn't like a physical release. It was kind of a short experience. So I'm just imagining if people didn't play that game, when you go into Alan Wake 2, which I know we're about to get into, and spoiler for anybody who cares about Alan Wake 2, Mr. Scratch is like a big player in it. His name's dropped pretty early on. So do you feel like if you didn't play American Nightmare, would you be lost going into that?
Um.
When it comes to the Mr. Scratch stuff, does it matter to you?
Um. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I would
Or
say possibly no, because or you know what, I'm changing my mind. I think yes. I think if you didn't play American Nightmare, you would be missing out on a lot of context as to like what Mr. Scratch, like what his goals are, what he wants to do. And I guess his
Mhm.
goals aren't that in depth. He wants to get out of the dark place. He wants to, I think his whole goal was right to essentially take over as Alan, because he's trying to find a vessel to get out of the
Right.
dark place, and Alan is just see, that's the thing though. Is Alan just like a perfect vessel, or is Alan, because Alan is the writer and the controller, he's just like a powerful, he's just like a powerful tool? I'm thinking
Yeah.
more.
I guess my point being, and you kind of answered it. Like, American Nightmare adds a lot of context. Maybe not a lot, but it adds some context to Mr. Scratch. And with these Remedy games, like every little bit of info that they give you is really important because the games kind of string you along and they don't give you a lot of info for a while sometimes, right? So like if you don't have that context of who Mr. Scratch is going into Alan Wake 2, I feel like you're kind of missing something kind of integral, at least where I'm at in the story of Alan Wake 2. I'm not super far in. Maybe they do a good job kind of re-elaborating his character, but at the introduction, I know if I didn't already know a little bit about Scratch, I would feel very lost when I start seeing the second Alan. Like they already kind of talk about his motives without really explaining, the background of his motives. So I don't know. I didn't play the full first game. I've just kind of watched it, so I'm not as intertwined with it as maybe you are. As an American Nightmare, I've mostly just seen like synopses of. So
Well, then you start getting into a question of just like what context would you actually get out of American Nightmare? I just thought about it, but the main revelation of in Alan Wake 2, the main revelation is that Scratch is actually having a physical impact on the story, whereas in previous titles, Alan was, I guess, strong enough to fight back and actually write his own story. But even in Alan Wake 2, oh gosh, getting into in Alan Wake 2, Alan starts to talk about how he feels as though he's in the cabin, he's falling asleep or losing consciousness, which is, I think that's what they're referencing, that is allowing Scratch to have an effect on the story. Whereas in American Nightmare, Scratch has like, he's like gaining power. He's like gaining power within the dark place or whatever. And I'm guessing that's because on the outside he's slowly taking over Cauldron Lake and slowly taking over Bright Falls. And I'm assuming that's the thing though, is like a lot of this Remedy world,
it doesn't reveal itself
doesn't
till a lot
reveal,
later on too.
yeah.
It's like it starts in one direction and starts like circling back, and then it intertwines, and nothing really fits together till like the last little bit. Anyway, I didn't want to get off too far on
No,
American Nightmare. I
I
more just
agree.
wanted to know how you felt, like how important is it to the story? Like, did you really need to play this game, or was it just kind of a one-off? If I miss this, not a big deal.
Just thinking on it, I don't think it's wholly necessary for the Alan Wake universe to have played this game. But man, the American Nightmare is so darn interesting. I don't see why, if you
You wouldn't want to.
you wouldn't want to, if you enjoyed Alan Wake, if you enjoyed the Bright Falls very short web series, if you enjoyed Control, like I don't see why you would not want to take a part in this. See, and that's a weird thing, is like I remember in my streams for this game, there was somebody in the stream comments who was like, loved this game but didn't like Control or something. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't? They're like, Control just wasn't for me. And I'm like,
I can get that though. Like
I don't know.
they have similarities, but they are different games. Man, we don't have to go down the Control route.
Yeah.
I mean, they have certain similarities because I mean it's all Remedy. They have this weird quirkiness, kind of hidden mystery behind a lot of stuff. But Alan Wake almost brings a campiness to it, which is kind of nice that you don't get with Control. It's also a little. I want to say it's more direct, although it's not really. But maybe it's a little more straightforward of a narrative in some ways. Control. I don't know. It's a broader game in some ways, but I don't want to go down that road.
So since you're there, do you mind if we switch over to Alan Wake 2?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Why
So
am I turning orange? Do you notice that?
I just noticed that, yeah.
Anyway, sorry for my camera being weird.
Alright. So here we go.
Too many Cheetos.
Into Alan Wake 2. So something you just brought up was the kind of weird kind of aspects of the Alan Wake lore in general, and I just forgot where I was going to go with that. Darn it. I don't know.
Ja.
Anyways, this is something I was really excited to talk about Phoenix with, because I didn't even know he was talking or playing Alan Wake 2 at the moment. I thought you said you were going to wait, or you said I was only going to get Super Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2, but I guess you couldn't wait.
Well, I got through Spider-Man pretty quick, and honestly, I got through Wonder really fast. We'll talk about that in a few
What
minutes.
is
So
Wonder? I've heard
I
it's
don't
like
know. I
7,
was
8 hours, right? It's like very short.
It's not a lot. I mean, I think depending on your experience, I don't want to sidetrack us, but no, it's not real
No,
long.
you're fine.
But anyway, yeah, I had a little bit of extra time. I was, intrigued by Alan Wake, so it was still Halloween spooky time. So I was like, yeah, let me give it a shot.
Um, so yeah, so you said you're almost at about where I'm at, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of hopped on the tail end of your last stream because I just wanted to gauge like how far away you were. I think you're maybe an hour and a half ahead of me. I said I just got to the point. Once again, spoilers to a certain extent. I mean, I don't think we're going to go into a lot of narrative stuff, but if you're wanting to play Alan Wake and you don't want to know anything, then skip this or come back in a few minutes. I got to the point right after you play Saga, then you go play as Alan Wake, and then I'm back as Saga now. So I just got back to Bright Falls real world area, and finished up Alan's first whole New York
Okay.
extravaganza. So, um, first thing I want to ask you is, is this kind of meeting your expectations so far? Because I know you're really hyped about this game. So has it
I
let you down at all? Are you happy with where it's going?
I am totally loving this game so far. We will definitely talk about it when we get into our what is it, the game of the year talk. But so far, this is again, it's more of a biased take, but this is everything I love in some of my favorite like narrative driven games. Like I feel like if you go back and you look at some of the other titles like BioShock, Dead Space, the original Alan Wake, this is kind of like everything I like in my favorite type of games. Like I like spooky, I like kind of weird, I like some humor mixed in, I like kind of not knowing what's really happening, and I don't just like not knowing, but I like figuring it out, which if you like figuring it out and more sleuthing detective work, this game has some form of like it's not like super in-depth detective work. It's not LA noir, but it has a form of right. I mean, I don't think you would agree that it's not like incredibly
I
in-depth, but I enjoy like that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into this yet. There are certain mechanics I am not a big fan of, that being
Really?
one of them.
Mm,
But I don't want to dig in too deep. I mean, I want you to kind of give me your full take on, the game, your pros and cons real quick before I change your opinion completely. So,
really? I'm loving just about everything about it. Like I love the weird like there's so many references and so many Alan Wake and Control things, and you're getting close to some stuff that's like that's I don't know. It's gonna be cool for you, but
okay.
I don't know. Like almost everything you could want if you loved Control or Alan Wake has kind of been in here so far. Again, I like kind of they're very much going and as you were talking about the aspect of the detective work that you don't like. The thing that's kind of cool about this game is they give you because you're playing as almost two characters. You're playing as Alan Wake himself, who's trying to get out of the dark place, and he on the outside is working or attempting to work with this Saga girl or this detective, and they almost play two. I don't want to say two completely different fashions, but they both they both have two like whenever you play a Saga, it feels as though you're more weaponly equipped to take on the enemies, and then when you play as Alan, you feel less equipped because he only has the light sources, and she
Yeah, I
always
feel like
feels like she
Alan's
has
a
the
little
better
more
weapons.
reactive.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when it comes to like the combat, like you only fight out of kind of necessity. That's not kind of your focus. But when you're playing a Saga, I mean, it's not your primary focus, but I think you're anticipating combat a little more and you're kind of preparing for the encounters a little bit more. So it's a little more proactive as opposed to reactive.
Mhm. Oh, and I just thought about my thing I was going to start before we hopped in. You were talking about how the game is weird and how that's something they lean into. I feel like this is the most like European feeling game Remedy has made. Like there are so many references to like Finnish or what is it? It's
Yeah, they're from
Finnish.
Finland. So yeah,
Yeah,
you got a lot of like Finnish, like
there's
several characters are
several
Finnish.
characters that are like, and they always had that sprinkled in, but like this is the first one where like they go into like Finnish lore. They're like everyone has like a
Mhm.
Finnish accent, and it's like,
Well, isn't either I don't know if it's Bright Falls specifically or like a town that's nearby wasn't it like historically in the lore like inhabited or whatnot by Finland or like what
I
was it?
thought it
The
was like,
original
isn't
like
it Washington they're in? They're supposed to be
yeah, but
in.
like a certain city was like founded by I think Finnish settlers or something like that.
It
I can't remember
probably.
exactly. One of the guys when you bump into is like a little was it the station out there by the lake? You run into two guys standing by there. I don't know if you came one guy's with the SCP, like a Asian guy,
Yeah.
and then you have like a the Finnish dude. He talks about his hometown, which I think is close by, that was founded by
Well,
Finnish
the guy
settlers or
next to
something
him
like
was
that.
with the FCB. He was literally with the Federal
No,
Bureau of Control.
S. Oh yeah, I said it wrong. I'm sorry. I was thinking SCP because that's what Control is based on. But yes,
Oh,
FBC.
yeah. But yeah, it's definitely weird and wacky, and I tend to like slower kind of experiences. Like I don't feel like as much as I love Dead Space can be like insanely hectic, and I
Mm.
kind of like that this one's a little more chill. Like they do a lot of things to kind of make to I don't know make you feel on edge always. I feel like the audio work here is like fantastic. Um, I don't know. I'm curious. What did I'm already curious. What about it to you is not living up?
Well, okay, let me tell you first what I think is positive about it. Because I mean, so far I am enjoying the game. I'm not negative on the game. There's a few things I haven't quite jived with me yet. I think I've pretty clearly outlined this. I'm not a big horror game guy at all. Like probably the creepiest game I played up to this point, like all the way through, were like I don't
BioShock.
know, the first Bioshock, maybe, which isn't really that scary once you get kind of through the beginning of it. So I played a good amount of the first Alan Wake. And it wasn't super spooky. I don't think I actually stopped playing it because it was overly scary. I just fell off for whatever reason. But typically, I'm not a big horror guy. I
How
think
far did
Metal
you
may
get?
recall we tried to play Amnesia once, and I noped out as soon as we got to the water section. Anyways,
How far did you get
I
in the first game? I'm curious. Do you remember?
oh so long ago.
Did you
I'm
get to
gonna
the
say about
farm?
halfway mark.
Oh, so you didn't even get to the farm.
Yes. So I thought I got to the farm. Oh, it's been forever. And the problem is, like, I can't now remember exactly when I stopped playing versus when I watched the rest of it,
Oh,
so it
so
all
you
kind of
did
blurs
watch. Okay, you
together.
at least know what happens.
Yeah, I've seen playthroughs of it, so I know the story. But
Okay.
anyways, so this is really, I'd say, one of the first, like, I'd say, true horror games, because this game is definitely more horror focused than I thought it was actually
Mm-hmm.
gonna be. Like, I knew Alan Wake is a scary game. This game, I think, really tries to be more of a horror, survival horror kind of experience than the old games did.
They announced before the game came out that they said this was Remedy's. They were saying this was Remedy's first survival horror game.
Mm.
So it's not like they were like
So
hiding it.
So in terms of horror games and my experience with them, I've been enjoying this one. Like, it definitely has me on edge a little bit. I tell you, it's interesting because this is a game that, in many ways, is not scary at all until it really is. Like, if you look at like the individual enemies and stuff that are attacking you, they're not that scary.
Mm.
I mean, you got like smoke monsters essentially that turn into redneck
It
cultists. So
it's far more atmosphere is what is spooky about this game
it's
more
the
than
atmosphere, it's the
yeah.
psychological aspect. So as I said, it's scary, not scary, which is right about my speed. I mean, got plenty of jump scares, which I don't love jump scares, but so far these haven't been too terrible.
That's the
So I've been
only the little things that represent Mr.
the
Scratch.
flashes,
The
yeah,
flashes is Mr. Scratch. Like whenever those go bam, like those are supposed to be Scratch nearby or Scratches
yeah.
messing with something.
They don't bother me as much. Like the jump scares that get me are the ones that you're kind of anticipating. You're waiting, you're walking in a room, and you know it's coming, but then it happens and you weren't really ready for it. But those are just literally out of nowhere. They don't get me quite the same way. But either way, I'm enjoying the horror aspect of it more so than I thought it would. I think that's been enjoyable. There have been a couple of really standout moments I thought were pretty good. I think the game looks good. I haven't. Well, I was gonna say I haven't had many technical
Can
issues, but I've
I
had a
uh
couple.
can I bring up one
Hmm?
thing is just I almost wonder if they did say they were going to go survival horror, but I wonder if like maybe a problem with some horror games is the fact that they try and revolve their narrative or try and revolve what you're doing in the game around the stuff that's scary versus trying to create a narrative and plot first and then trying to make things spooky around it. Like I wonder if almost that's what they are doing rather than like I don't know. Maybe I don't know how game develop. Maybe teams don't do that, but like you get what I'm saying. Like I don't know.
I
It
think I
just
do. I mean, I think everything feels pretty well integrated or
balanced.
entwined. Like
Yeah,
I don't feel like it's separate. Like here's the narrative, and then the scary stuff's over here. Like I feel like it's all kind of
that's what I
copacetic.
was just saying. Is I
Um,
like is that it feels like they took both into it. They're like they don't let them wanting to scare you get in the way of their narrative, their goal.
Sorry, lost my ear for a second. Um, so, anyways, I'm enjoying where I'm at right now in the overall experience. Things I am not overly keen on. For one, I have had a few technical issues. When I first started up the game, I don't know if you had this. You're playing on PC, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm playing on Xbox Series X. As soon as I started the very first cutscene, the lip sync was
I've
atrocious.
had that happen a few
Like
times.
I know that looking into it has been a, I guess, common
Hmm.
issue, but
Yeah.
it was bad. I thought I was watching like a bad Japanese dub for a minute or something weird. Like, it was pretty distracting, and I know they've done a few patches. It's still not great. Maybe it's a little better. And then I had the game crash on me like immediately after that. So like my first like 20 minutes of the game was a little sketchy when it comes to the technical side. Luckily, the majority of it after that's been mostly fine. I'm trying to think. The other thing I really want to play this game for was the narrative. The narrative hasn't grabbed me yet. It hasn't been bad, but it hasn't gotten to the what I'd call the weird remedy stuff yet. Like it has bits of it. And I know it's coming, which is why I'm really not trying to get negative on it yet. I know it's going to get here based upon everything I've heard and just understanding what this game's supposed to be. I don't feel like I'm there yet, though. I've just got little tastes.
You're
So
close.
I
I
think I
don't
need
want
that
to
hook
say
still.
you're close to some stuff.
Yeah, so I think my opinion is going to change, hopefully pretty drastically once the narrative gets me. But right now, I'm kind of going through the motions, kind of getting there. Um, the gameplay moment to moment is fine. I'll tell you what I don't like about it, well, okay, there's two things. There's a pseudo character narrative aspect, and then there's a gameplay aspect. This might just be the way this game's supposed to feel, or the way these characters are supposed to react. Saga, though, feels really odd to me. Very, not just awkward. I mean, once again, maybe this is the way they wrote her, and I think after maybe some revelations, it'll make more sense. But like her reaction, and once again, spoilers, but when she shows up in Brightfall and the waitress recognizes her and basically says that her daughter has drowned, and she's like, "What?" Like the reaction she had was so like just cool and kind of unnatural. Like I'm thinking if I was in that situation and some random person's like, "Hey, I know you. Didn't your daughter die last year?" I would be freaking out. So her reaction to that I thought was weird. Her reaction to the whole scenario is very accepting. Like presumably she's never been exposed to any supernatural anything in her FBI work or her cases, and all of a sudden she's dropped in this place where dead people are coming back to life and chasing her through the woods. Like she's way too easygoing about this whole
Well,
thing. Now,
see,
granted, go ahead.
well, I think what would be inferred or what is I think would be the reasoning behind it is there's a lot of debate up at this point whether she's really a person or not. Because
And that's
remember,
why
there's a lot of the stuff that happens in this world. Alan plays
is it
so
real? It's been written
is
into
he writes everything. So there's so many
right.
things where it's like, is this
And
person a
that's why I
real?
was trying to say,
Yeah.
like, maybe this is how she was written, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. Like, I know there's something weird going on with her. It's very unnatural. And this is the thing about Remedy games. Sometimes you can't tell if it's unnatural for the sake of being unnatural or if there's some narrative aspect to it, or is it just weirdly written? So some of these characters are just kind of sitting in this weird place. Alan always sits a little weird because he's very kind of campy, over the top, over melodramatic about stuff in some ways. So he reads a little fake to me too, but I think that's just his character. It's supposed to be this over kind of eloquent, elaborate writer. So I think you just have to accept that about his character. So it's not a negative. It feels awkward, but I said that could just be waiting for the story to all kind of click and fall into
Mm-hmm.
place. The other thing I do not think I like is the whole detective mind place story plot stuff. And when I say story plot, like the plotting that you can do in Alan's mind space, I think it is way too how do I want to say this? It's too easy. For one, because you can't get it wrong. I think, and just Metal, I know you probably haven't played it. I don't know if you know anything about how this is set up, but you go through the game, you collect evidence as one of the characters, the Saga character we're talking about, and then halfway through, you go to like your true crime virtual, not virtual, mental mind space, where like you have your own little like um, headquarter room where you have like the big wall with the pictures and the yarn attaching things, and you're supposed to like kind of plot out and map out the investigation.
I like it
Cool in
though. I don't
theory.
know. I think it's
It's a
cool.
cool like it's a cool visual, and what you're doing is neat in concept, but it doesn't really matter what you do. Like, so you bring up, like, it will put these little cue cards, being like, gotta figure out what the cultists are doing. And then you're given like 3 pictures that you took as like, evidence that you were searching for while you were out on your campaign or whatever it was. And they're like, does this picture go with the cue card or does this one? You can't get it wrong. Like, if you put the wrong picture on there, it's like, oh, Saga, you're stupid. Don't do that. And then you can basically just guess. You can't. I wish this game would let you get it wrong and like it would lead you down a different path. Like, these don't feel like puzzles you're solving. It feels like I'm just walking through a motion, be like, oh, it needs to put this picture here, and if I get it wrong, I can basically just guess.
Well, you're getting close to a revelation, I think, that explains more about her. But I would say,
Is that gonna change the mechanic of what she's doing though? That's my
no,
issue.
it's
Like,
not
I'm
going to
sure
change
the
the
narrative is
mechanic,
gonna make it more
but
interesting.
they'll explain more about her in just a little bit for you.
And that's what, like, I think I'm gonna like the story in the game and the narrative once it all kind of pieces together what the characters are doing. I'm
You just
game
wish
for
she
that.
wouldn't put things together so easily. But
No, I feel like as a mechanic, okay, as the gamer, like, take it out of the Saga aspect. I'm the gamer now trying to investigate. You're not like you kind of said it yourself. It's not that in depth. It's not even just being in depth. You are playing investigator at the most surface level possible. It's like, feels very, I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
It doesn't feel like a worthwhile mechanic. Like, if I felt like I was actually solving something, like I had to read through and guess, like, oh, where should this thing go? But if you don't put it in the right spot, the game just tells you you didn't put it in the right spot, and there's only one answer, and you literally could just trial and error guess the entire investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like that. I think it's just overly simplified. And you can, play like, if you role play as an investigator, you can try to make it more interesting. Like, oh, I'm trying to figure out where this picture goes based upon the imagery that this has. And I don't know. I feel like I'm really forcing myself to do that, though. So I don't like that. The Alan parts are better, only because if you do get the wrong outcome, it at least has some kind of like visual shift. Like, the way that Alan thing works is you basically rewrite the story to a certain extent with adding your own characters and elements. We're losing Metal. He ain't gonna make it. If you're not gonna make it, Metal, it's okay. You can come back later. I'm sorry. We're dragging this on too long.
No, I'm okay. Just watching him over there.
Yeah. My point being is, I feel like those sections, they don't go as hard as they need to a certain extent. They're neat conceptually, but the gameplay elements of this game haven't hooked me yet. The combat is fine. It can be intense to a certain extent, and these mind moments are interesting, but they're not overly engaging. So the game aspect of it, I'm a little cool on. So the story is going to need to grab me relatively soon. But I'll kind of leave it there. Other than that, I mean, I say I'm open to this game. I like the Alan Wake story, like, in general. I like Remedy's take on things. It does get really weird, really kooky, and they have some cool kind of mind twists. So I'm game for it.
It could just be that, like, while, yes, this is my type of game, and this is what I look for in a, my type of, like, I like these type of weird experiences. It could just be total bias, and that I haven't played I haven't played a horror game that, like, intrigued me this much since maybe Soma. When you told me about Soma was, and that was that is several years old, but I played that up like a year ago, and that was like the last, like, awesome experience where, like, I was totally enthralled through and through. See, I want to try and find something I haven't liked so far in the game.
I'm not trying to make you dislike the game if you're having a good time with it. I mean, I do think you were a little more hyped for, and you have, I think, more, like, Alan Wake has been one of your, like, favorite games for a long time, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think you were going to be a little more into some of the stuff they were doing initially. I came in a little bit cooler. Like, I enjoyed my Alan Wake experience in the past, but it wasn't like, man, Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm game for it. I'm hoping it, evolves and changes a little bit more as we go through it. We don't have to beat a dead horse here or anything.
I will say, like, one thing I'm hoping this game, I do feel like I'm at the point where I've played enough of a couple Remedy games. I would like some more. I would like some more concrete answers on certain things, and I wonder if, like, that's just that's just not the nature of this type of series or game where it's like, I would like to legit know what is the dark place. I want to know what is
Well,
going
you're
on
5 hours into this. I
Yeah.
imagine you got 15 more hours for a couple of revelations. I can't imagine they're gonna, spell out every single thing because they need some carrot to drag you into the next game, whatever it may be.
I mean, I
But
hope this game
I
ends
don't
with
know.
us finally being done with Mr. Scratch. I mean, I can't imagine I mean, we've been dealing with him for, you know, 1.5 games now. It's like, I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, well, we went on far longer on Alan Wake 2 than I thought we would, honestly, because before we hopped on, I didn't even
I
know
know, and
Phoenix
poor
was
metal over
playing it.
there is dying. Sorry.
I'm trying to survive here.
No, you'll be
You
all
can
right.
do it. Go get like a caffeine injection. Find a 5-hour energy. Do some jumping jacks. I don't know.
Oh,
Right in the heart.
Stab yourself in the kneecap or something.
All
All
right.
right,
So we're
so
moving on.
yep, moving on. So Phoenix, I haven't played Mario Wonder is actually what I'm going to touch on after I'm done with Alan Wake. But so did you want to touch on?
I'll be really quick here. Yeah. So I played through. I've beaten, the whole game as far as like going through all the worlds. There's what is it? There's 6 side worlds, and you got like a hub world, and there's a special
Hold
world, a
on,
la
hold on,
like Super Mario World.
hold on.
What?
You need to introduce Mario and who Mario is. I'm kidding.
Oh, you're talking about the new actor or voice
No,
actor?
I was just saying.
You're talking-
I was being facetious. We don't know who Mario
I have to
is.
give the narrative backstory for who Mario is and his
Yeah.
adventures in history of the Mushroom Kingdom. No, I'm not gonna do that.
Why is he red? Why can't he be any other color?
Anywho, so I played the whole thing. I've been going back through slowly and trying to like 100% parts of it. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
I am
actually,
not.
since you brought it up, you did bring up the voice. That is something I've heard. Is some people saying they noticed the new voice actor incredibly
Oh,
much.
you noticed.
Is it
Yeah.
really noticeable?
Yes. Very much so. It's not bad. I mean, I think Mario was ready for a change to a certain extent. Not that he has to sound the same in every game. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Charles Martinet, but I'm okay with the change. You don't notice it for like sound effects like the woohoos and stuff like that, but he'll say little lines and just the way he says them, you can tell is a different tone, different kind of candor to what he says.
That
But it's fine.
stinks.
Luigi also is, I think, voiced by a different person. I can't recall it's the same guy for both, but he sounds noticeably different too. But it's all good. They do a good job at the voices. They sound fitting for the characters, and I think it's a fine direction moving forward. Um, I enjoy the game. It is not my favorite 2D. A lot of people are already praising this as their brand new favorite Mario of all time from a 2D perspective. I think some of that's recency bias. It does have some good level design, but for me, my favorite Mario, at least 2D, is Super Mario World. That's gonna be really hard to beat. A lot of people are really relating this or kind of comparing this in a favorable way to Super Mario World, like it has some similarities. And it does,
Because
but
it
not
has
the
like a
same way. There's a
board.
special world.
It's the
Huh?
board, right? It plays more like
I mean,
a
it's got a
board.
board. Granted, there have been other games that have had a board kind of like this, but yeah, it's got a world map kind of deal. It has like a special where we can find secret exits. This game has more secret exits in the levels, so if you remember those from Super Mario World, those make a return. Um, I feel like, at least from that aspect, one of the things I always liked about Super Mario World is it felt mysterious, even though like I don't know, there were always like a lot of secrets to find that I thought really challenged the player to find them. This game, there's plenty of secrets, but the game, I think, telegraphs them a lot. Like you can really tell, oh, there's a secret here, or the game pretty much tells you if there's a secret exit or not. So I think it takes some of the mystery out of it, which is what I liked about Super Mario World.
I mean, you
The
could.
power-ups are.
I was just gonna say you could argue that like some of those earlier Mario games were not like the most kid-friendly games. Like I actually felt like I used to have trouble with
They
Super
were
Mario
certainly more
World.
challenging.
Super
Yeah,
Mario
this game is
3.
not hard.
Yeah.
Both those games are more challenging than this.
Actually,
This
is
is
it
not a
2?
hard
A lot
Mario
of people
game.
say, or am I thinking of Zelda 2? A lot of people think that one's. I'm getting my twos mixed up. Go ahead, sorry.
Perhaps. Oh, you threw my brain off, Jazz. I'm sorry. Where is it? Oh, like power up. So this game, your big power ups, you have the elephant and you have like a bubble suit. They're all just okay. The
Bubble Boy.
elephant, huh?
Well, I just said Bubble
Bubble
Boy.
Boy. There's a, yeah. Elephant, you just get big and you can knock things around with your trunk. There's not much more to do besides that. I mean, I guess you can like spit water out, but doesn't have a big mechanical change with a lot of stuff you do. The bubble things are kind of neat. You can bounce off of them. I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed with any of the power-ups. They're all kind of mid, especially if we're comparing this to Super Mario World, which in my opinion has the best power-up of any Mario game.
Was
The
it
feather.
the
That
feather?
cape man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's Tanuki?
In this game, you can
I
do
forgot.
some similar
Is it
stuff.
Tanuki or
Tanuki was 3. That was the raccoon.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. It's not a bad game. I mean, it's a very good game. I think we're comparing it and trying to rank it in like the 2D Mario sphere. At least for me, it's still down there a little bit. I don't know exactly where, but Super Mario 1 and 3 are still my top.
Your opinion on? I remember one other criticism with this game, other than the voice actor. There were a lot of people saying that they don't like the art style. Do you have any
like the art
qualms,
style.
or you like the art style?
I think it's fine. I don't know if I'd want to see this for a bunch more games. I think it's fine as a little one-off. I'd like to see them tweak it up some, but it's very colorful. Like, it looks nice, especially when you do the big mechanic in this game that makes, I think, really worth playing is the whole wonder seed aspect. You'll find these flowers.
Acid trip part.
You basically have an acid trip halfway through the game, and there are some crazy mechanics that occur. So I won't go into spoiling any of those if you're interested at all, but it does make the game more interesting when those pop up. But I don't know. I don't want to say I'm cool on this. I feel like I'm coming across kind of mid on so many games. So I don't want to be super negative. But it's certainly not my top 2D Mario game. It's sitting at least under 3 in world, maybe even further down, but it's fun. I mean, if you're looking for a Mario game, this is a good one.
I would love it if I liked it more than was it Super Mario 3D World? Is that the one with Bowser's Fury or Bowser's whatever?
That's just such a different game, though.
I loved that game. That was like one of my favorite Mario experiences.
That one uses different perspectives, though. I think that's what makes it completely different.
So it's a totally
different.
This
one is a more of like a look for like new Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
So if you play the new Super Mario Brothers, they look a lot like that.
Yeah, I'll separate.
This is better than new Super Mario Brothers. I think this definitely is above those games. I do not think I necessarily liked it better than Super Mario 3D World, though. Especially when we're thinking about the Bowser's Fury package. I like that a lot more. But granted, that is going towards a 3D game, which is it's different. It plays different. For a pure, just comparing 2D games, this is good. It's a solid entry. I think it's worth your time. I think as far as where it's going to rank for your all-time best Marios, it's going to vary for a bunch of people. But I do like the art style. Honestly, even just looking at the gameplay again now, it's super bright. You can't really get upset while playing this game. Like, it does, I think, put you in a good mood just kind of watching it. So
I think
I'll say that for it.
The real question is, what did your daughter think of it?
She did not grasp onto as much as I thought she would.
Terrible
She's
game.
Still,
get it out of here.
I think the thing with her, she's still, I think, learning how to play platformer as well. Like, running and jumping. She's not good at holding down 2 buttons yet. So, like, she can jump over stuff. She can run. Anything that requires her to do both at the same time is going to take me a while. So I think she enjoyed it for a few minutes. She thought it was cute. There's a level where the piranha plants basically do like a musical number for you. She got a kick out of that. So it's a cute game. And you can play it 4-player, which is nice. There's some fun multiplayer aspects online where like online players can see you and kind of help you in the game. So what's nice about it is this multiplayer is very much cooperative. If you recall it, New Super Mario Brothers, you could basically murder everybody else on the screen, chuck them down pits, and it made it literally impossible to like beat the game. This is much more incentivizing you to help each other get to the end, which I thought was a pretty good adjustment to the gameplay. Okay. But I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so not the greatest Mario game ever.
In my opinion, some people love it, but I think a lot of that's recency bias, but we'll see.
What about you, gamer? When are you gonna play it?
I'll play it when I get money. Once I
get
the cash, I'm gonna
get it. You should be able to afford it pretty soon.
Once that first paycheck hits.
Yeah, I do want to get it. I do want to get it. Like, I've been eyeballing it since it came out. Of course, Mario RPG right down the corner.
Oh, yeah.
I really want that. Like, I don't know. I think I might just splurge on that game instead of Wonder, even though I played that game already. But I know that there's a lot of new things that they added to it, so I want to see it.
I can't wait for RPG.
No, I think I'd recommend that. Wonder can wait. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. RPG, I think, is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to playing that again.
Yeah. Me too.
Stupid cough. All right, so I think Phoenix is done with that one. So moving on to, I think, the thing I'm most excited to talk about because I thought this is gonna be like my pseudo main topic for this pod. But me and Phoenix got to play Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I think we played it almost, or you were like you were a few hours, like maybe 3 or 4 hours ahead of me throughout most of the playthrough. But I don't know. What do you think? Is it as IGN? I think they had it as they had it as their number ranked as their number one Spider-Man game of all time, even though they only gave it an 8 and they gave Miles Morales a 9 and they gave 2018 a 10. I don't know.
That's
I don't.
hilarious.
Well, I mean, I get why they did the numeric ranking there because in some ways this is not a better game. I think this is very hard to rank these. I think all three of those games, it depends on how you like the story in them. I ultimately think that's what it's going to come down to, and that even might change for you over time. Like the 2018 Miles Morales and this game are all very, very similar in gameplay. Like you could argue that objectively this one has the better gameplay, perhaps, but I wouldn't say so much so that that would be what's going to make one better than the other. So if you attach yourself to a certain story or narrative or character more than the other, I think that's going to impact which one of these is greater. Now, out of these, is this grouping of Spider-Man games, I think the best Spider-Man games ever made, probably. I will always have a fondness for old school Spider-Man 2.
I'm in the same
Like,
boat.
just something about that. And I don't think it's a better game. Like, I will say this game, the one thing that I think held me back in the first Spider-Man 2018 as far as giving, I think, more kudos was although I love the swinging, I still held on to liking the swinging in Spider-Man 2 almost better because it felt faster. This game, though, really jacks up your potential speed, like when you can swing, and then, of course, the web wings and stuff like that. This is the best that it's ever felt to swing around the city. The mechanics are just top-notch, looks great, it's expressive, it's got speed to it. I don't think there's necessarily a better swinging experience out there when it comes to Spider-Man games.
Well, since you bring it up, that honestly is a main kind of gripe. Well, not a main, but one of the gripes I have with this game, as opposed to 2018, is I actually felt like a lot of the side stuff in the city, to me, was far less interesting here versus what you did in 2018. I just felt like, I don't know, the rewards you got out of the collectibles and some of the things you were doing, I thought they just felt, I don't know, maybe more satisfying. Like, kind of thinking on it, what did you do here? You collected the Beatles, and the Beatles gave you a, what was it, Spider-Man 2099 reference or something like that.
Oh, the Spider Bots.
Beatles, whatever. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, that's Marvel, right? What else?
No, not.
I know, I'm kidding.
I hate you.
You had that. You had the Mysterio things, which
I thought those were great. You had the chameleon side quest thing. Like
that
that
was
had a
cool.
fun ending to it.
I did like the chameleon thing. Now that was one thing I thought about in the stream was chameleon in the lore. Is he always
Probably
Craven's
not. I don't
brother?
remember.
That was such a weird.
They change a lot of lore. They play kind of fast and loose with it, and I'm okay with that. They don't. It's a comic book. I mean, comics have changed the lore and the canon so many times, depending which universe you're in, and nonsense like that. So I'm okay with any adjustments they made
I
there.
kind of liked the pyro stuff, or the. I won't spoil it. What's the cult, fire cult stuff? I thought all that was kind of interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, they kind of just rehashed a couple things, like they rehashed the thing where you had to go around the city and take pictures of stuff,
But I was okay with that. I don't know. I think and I'll just be honest, I'm going to come across more positive with this game for, I think, one really big reason, and we'll probably hit on this when we get to the Game of the Year conversation. Most of this year, even though I know this has been, a banner year for gaming, 2023, best
we've
games
talked about
ever,
this.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I can see where you're going. Yeah.
I have been a little more let down by, partially it's the games that I have played. I haven't played every, Game of the Year contender that's out there. I haven't touched Baldur's Gate, stuff like that. But the other big ones I played that I've somewhat anticipated have disappointed me to a fairly decent extent. Tears of the Kingdom.
Starfield.
Yeah, Starfield. There's a few others. And part of it, I think, is, the expectations that were in play for those.
I think if you would have played 16, you'd probably feel the same way about that one. But I loved 16, so.
My point being, though, is my expectations for those weren't really met. And I typically try to go into a game with fairly leveled expectations. I don't get super hyped, but we all bring in things that we want to see in a game. For Tears of the Kingdom, I wanted to have more real dungeons. It didn't have that, which brought it down a level. Starfield, man, I just wanted to be a different game, apparently. But this is the first game that I felt like the expectations as far as what Insomniac advertised met exactly what I was expecting from it. I was not expecting some huge advancement in Spider-Man. Maybe some people were. I just wanted another Spider-Man game. Pretty much in line with what they'd done before, which seemed like exactly what they were giving us. And this met me right where I
I
wanted to be
agree.
at. I didn't feel like I was disappointed in this game. Like, could it have been better? Sure. But I felt like because I didn't have these letdown expectations, I enjoyed my time with it more. And to be fair, that is on me. And it's probably unfair to put that on the game in many cases, but it helped my experience. Feeling like a game didn't disappoint me in some weird way. Not that that should be the major metric, but I came across like even stuff that I think annoyed a lot of people, like the side quests and stuff like that. Yeah, they were kind of repetitive. Yes, it was the same kind of stuff you saw in Spider-Man 1. I didn't care because I expected that. I just wanted to swing around the city, do some little Spider-Man activities, and that's exactly what I got to do. So I was pretty keen on this whole game.
I wholeheartedly agree. Like, I felt like I got out of this game what I wanted, even though it wasn't like it's probably not going to be my game of the year. It was everything I wanted. Like what more if you buy a Spider-Man game are you wanting to do? You get to take on Venom, you get emo Peter, you get to play as more than one Spider-Man. You get to swing around the town and take on some of Spider-Man's biggest villains. It's like, yeah, I agree. Like, while I ultimately think I was a bit disappointed with some of the Venom-oriented stuff, I wholeheartedly I enjoyed the game through and through. Like, honestly, when we get into the game of the year talks, like while in terms of like what I want Alan Wake 2 to be my game of the year, but I'm not finished with it yet. We'll see when I'm done with it. But like, as far as right now, I would say this and 16 for me are like my two neck and neck, game of the year selections. I mean, if things go good with Alan Wake, I think I'll probably lean towards that one. But like, yeah, and that I think's impressive. Like, it's among my, like, I would say this is in my top 3 favorite probably gaming experiences this year.
Yeah. And we can get to that as we get into the game of the year conversation. I don't want to keep us here forever. I do want to mention a few of if I was going to nitpick, and honestly, these are really just nitpicks for me. Some people take bigger issue with them. I miss stealth a little bit. Like, not that you can't do stealth in this game.
Oh, yeah.
It is not heavily encouraged, though. And it even removed certain gadgets that you used to have that made stealth more engaging. Like, you used to have, like, trip webs and stuff like that. That stuff was gone. So,
sorry, I don't want to...
No,
it's especially leaves kind of a divot because, like, one of the people you're facing in this game, I thought about it in the streams, you're facing a hunter, someone who is all about hunting and hiding and stealth, and it kind of came off as disappointing that, like, you didn't there weren't any sections of you combating that or staying away from him. There was no... He really didn't even feel like a hunter. He felt just like a playboy guy who has like an entire group behind him because he's wealthy, and it's like...
Kraven, I didn't dislike him as a character, but I did not like that he had an army. To me, that made no sense for Kraven.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy who's supposed to be hunting, he hunted nobody. He told all of his army guys to go and pretty much capture everything. He showed up at the end to, like, poke you with a knife. So I thought that was really kind of out of character for what, like, I thought he was done well from, like, his look was good. He was fairly intimidating when he was on the screen, but they didn't have him do anything else. I thought that was just disappointing. I'll tell you, I kind of wish, and I also thought they were going to do this for a little bit, even though I knew some marketing material. Spoiler alert, Harry ends up being Venom in this. Not that that's, I think, a big spoiler alert. I wish it would have been Kraven. I wish he would have ended up being
That's what I thought
was
going to happen. I thought it was going to take Kraven when it jumped off of Peter.
Which to me makes a lot more sense too. So, like, I think
size? That's like one thing.
I think the size, like, because I mean, you gotta think it's comic book, so it doesn't always translate. But if you think back to, like, Eddie Brock ended up being a big dude as Venom because it was Eddie Brock. He had a bigger build. Spider-Man, when he had the suit, didn't get bigger, so it almost made sense to have a bigger stature guy become Venom in this. And also, I think narratively would have been more interesting. Like, Harry starts the symbiote because he needs it to survive. He loses it to Peter. Craven steals it because Craven needs it too. Like, the other thing is Craven's dying in this
He's
game. His
dying, yeah.
whole kind of motivation is he wants to have one last great final hunt and have a prey that can take him out. But what if he found out there was a way that he could become an even better hunter and become, the symbiote equivalent of that? Like, I feel like he should have had that motivation to get the symbiote. And then I think it would have been more interesting because Peter then would have had to make a decision. Do I kill Craven and Venom with the symbiote, or do I save the symbiote and try to give it to Harry to save his life? Like, I think that could have been like an interesting dynamic the story could have taken. They could have even made like a choice if they wanted to have a branching path, which that's not really where this game goes. But
Interesting.
that would have been more interesting, right? I think Harry getting it back at the end, it played fine. It was predictable, which I didn't love, but it was fine. I didn't have a huge issue with the Venom stuff, like as far
And
as what they did, but I think they could have made it better.
you could have made some like really interesting sections of a supervillain who has the power and crazy wackiness of the alien symbiote and also has like the cunning and hunting senses of a Craven. Could you imagine? Like,
Yeah.
that would have been the ultimate. That would have been something that really Peter Parker shouldn't have been able to beat. And that would have been like really fascinating to have some like dire situations of him, desperately on death's bed escaping from this creature. Like, you could have made it really spooky. And now that I think about it, that could have been really cool.
Yeah, I think the Venom plotline got really safe at the end. It wasn't bad. It was fine, but it didn't surprise me. I think the Craven thing could have been cool. Now, to be fair, there was some other narrative stuff I really liked. When Peter stole the symbiote and he was basically chasing Mary Jane while he was like taken over by the suit. He was like asleep the whole time or something. Like, I thought that was a fun section. Honestly, that was probably the best Mary Jane section. I couldn't stand the rest of them.
I couldn't stand the scream or shriek or whatever.
I didn't hate it.
It was
It
kind of
did go
odd.
on a little long.
Dude, that
Well,
boss
it's
that boss battle had like 4 sections to it.
5 phases or something.
Yeah,
like
like why? Why
like
does
2 or 3 times. I thought it was neat to bring because I mean that is a Venom, or not Venom, but symbiote incarnation we haven't seen too often. So that her becoming Mary Jane was interesting. I'm glad it didn't go on the entire game, but I even think that went on a little too long. I still didn't love the Mary Jane sections. She was way too overpowered with that stun gun, and I think it almost made it. It hurt the integrity of the other characters. Like, so if Mary Jane has a super powered stun gun that can take out any enemy one shot, why the heck would Peter and Miles not integrate that into their suit where they can take out anybody in one shot? Instead, Miles is freaking electrocuting 30 people and they get right back up. Like, the parody there just really didn't work for me. And I know the game director came on was an IGN interview,
yeah.
and his argument when those sections were brought up, it was like, well, we wanted Mary Jane to feel like, a capable character that she can, hang with the guy kind of thing. And he didn't care that she was OP. He was like, doesn't matter if that's a big deal or not.
It doesn't have it doesn't have anything to do with. I'm trying not to. To me, it's not like a sexism viewpoint. To me, it's more. She's not supposed to keep up with them because they're superheroes. It has nothing to do with them being guys and her being a girl. It's the fact that she wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider. That's why she shouldn't be able to like take on like.
I feel like she could have done something else that wasn't combative, or honestly, and this is probably a hot take nobody's gonna like. I liked her better in the first game, like where it was just her trying to be stealthy,
more stealthy,
walking
sneaky.
around.
And
it at least made sense for her.
And they even did that with some of the Miles sections in the first game, where like he wasn't like fighting people. He was like stealthily staying away from Mr. Negative's people. It's like,
I'm still not saying that I liked her in the first game, but I prefer that because I felt like it fit the character better. This, I feel like it doesn't make sense for the character to this extent that they have her. She's basically John Wick as she's running through taking people out.
yeah.
And I say it hurts, I think, the believability of the other characters because why wouldn't they have this technology? Why is she on the same par as them in some ways? Like, and the director's take came across kind of brash. Like, I know what he was trying to do, and he probably didn't mean it quite the way he said it, but I didn't like his take. It was basically like, I don't care what the
It
fans
was
say,
very like
she's fine.
defensive, and it's like, don't come off defensive. Like,
I get why they did it. I just didn't love that choice. I don't think there was anything else I really cared
there
about.
was
I think I mentioned most of it.
the only other thing I would say was a minor gripe. Well, I won't say minor. Yeah, minor gripe. I don't know, just kind of the way they handled Venom as a whole. Like, I loved what they did with Venom in a couple of the sections, but how they handled the end, it ended up just being the Venom somehow was spreading at like roots across the city, and he was like
It went very Web
move.
of Shadows. Did you ever play
Yeah,
that?
no, I haven't, but yeah, he's like physically moving big rocks of earth with the thing, and then all of a sudden he can like create a bunch of mini venoms, and that
Yeah,
got
it
handled.
escalates really quick.
That
Yeah.
got handled way too easily. It's like Peter's having all this trouble getting the symbiote off of himself, but in terms of
Mhm.
getting the symbiote off of other civilians, he just walks up and he rips
Yeah.
them out, and it's like,
I agree with that. I feel like towards the end, the pacing got really fast.
mhm.
It may have been too the way I played the game. So the way I play these games is I do like as much side content as humanly possible when it comes available. So I spent the first 10, 15 hours of the game barely progressing the main story, just doing every side thing I could. At a certain point, I finished all the side stuff, and then all I had left were main missions. So they felt like they went really fast. I just did one, next, next, next. Maybe if I would have spread them out a little differently, the pacing would have felt better. So that might have been just the way I played the game. But
So can I throw
I
something
don't know.
at you?
Good.
As much as I liked Miles Morales, I didn't love it as much as 2018. Some of these criticisms that were going through it are making me wonder, did you like Miles Morales less than this one or more? Because now I'm thinking on it, I think Miles Morales to me may have been more on par with this one. I don't
For
know.
me, it's all about the story that you care about or which one grabbed you on. Like, I can't differentiate the gameplay enough between all of them to make a big enough difference. So if I was in the mood to see Miles' story again, that's gonna be the one I want to raise up
I
higher. If it's
think
the
I would
first
go with
one,
this one just a fraction over Morales. Although I
they're
did love
they're
the
all.
Rhino section in Morales is awesome, chasing him through the city.
If I had to, I don't know. I think they're all just kind of on the same line for me based upon how well you grasp any of the narratives. I might like the first one still better than all of them,
Oh, I do. I
maybe,
definitely still prefer the first one.
but I don't know. I don't want to stick on this one too long. We're gonna lose metal, and we still have a lot to talk about.
Nah, I
So,
know.
um, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. I
So
said I might be a little biased based upon my recent experience with other games, but I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
so where does this rank in your all-time favorite Spider-Man games? Is this over Take Two or Spider-Man One on PS1, or because that's
Well,
personally
I
Spider-Man One PS1 is still my fave, and that's purely like nostalgia. I understand
yeah,
it probably hasn't aged well and stuff like
like
that.
if I'm trying to be objective about this at all, because I mean, those games I'm never going to be, I think, really top just because I grew up with them. Spider-Man PS1, Spider-Man 2, the movie. Like, I don't think I can pick one of these games though. Like, I think for me, technically, from an objective standpoint, the Insomniac Spider-Mans are the top iteration of Spider-Man games. Like, if you're just wanting best overall feel, solid narrative, solid gameplay, yes, they are at the top. But if you grew up with Tobey Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, I think is always going to be really appealing and have a certain place. And if you want something that's really like geared to like the 90s animated Spider-Man, that's going to be PS1 Spider-Man. So I don't think I can really rank these objectively. I'm just going to put the Spider-Man Insomniac towards the top because I know from a gameplay narrative perspective, they, I think, deserve to be up there, but I don't know.
No,
I can't rank them. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
like choosing between your kids.
It really is. Well, I can't break the objective
Every
side
parent
versus
has a
the
favorite
subjective
kid.
side.
They're lying.
Anyways.
All
Do we do
right.
all the games? Do we make it? That was
Well,
probably the longest what you play in section.
since we're already talking about Spider-Man, let's real quick move into an update on our highlights from the, or no, our high score Olympics update, where we have our little kind of project that we had going, with kind of like a competition for where we chose 5 games each, and we went into like meta scores. We'll get into that later, but yeah. So let's move over to that. So on screen, I should have our stuff. So as you guys, oh no, I'm on the wrong thing. Stupid. All right, there you go. Now we're good. So yeah, they're good.
It's pretty much done, isn't it? Like, what other games are coming out?
Let's see. I have the list here. Yeah, it looks like. So it's kind of looking like Gamer's gonna be missing one. He's just gonna be missing Rebirth. It's looking like
I'm missing
you're
2.
missing Kerbal and Suicide.
Still in early access. The Suicide Squad's done.
And then
And you're missing 2.
I'm missing Hades and Hollow Knight. We still have not heard a thing from either of those games.
They're not coming this year.
No, I don't think so.
I know Hades. Oh, man, I thought at least one of those would come for you.
Well, Hades was supposed to be like, I thought I read something that it was like in production and close to done. So I thought it was going to come out.
Yeah, I thought I heard 2023 too on both that and Hollow Knight. I know Hollow Knight got pushed back a little, but I think the early access stuff caught a lot of us off guard. I think a lot of times now when they release or they announce a game, they give you the early access release. But if we're doing it by what we were trying to gauge it by these Metacritic scores, that messes us up because they don't do reviews at that time.
Yeah.
So even though the game is technically out, you're not getting scores. Like Kerbal is out, but I don't think the Metacritic scores count because it's still technically early access. So I don't know.
So
according to what I'm reading, Hades 2 is not coming out until Q2 of 2024.
Yeah, that's probably
which
realistic.
They never said anything about that.
No.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Last I heard, I was pretty sure it said 2023, but that was back when it was originally announced, so I missed that completely.
So honestly, it's looking as though if things stay the way they are, it's looking like Gamer's gonna win, and I come in third, I think, if you're looking at the numbers. So that means Gamer can tell me to play Elden Ring or whatever he wants. I don't know.
I'll tell you, we probably need to like do a formal update on the Metacritic scores to make sure we have the most up to date on everything.
Well, I have dates on each of these. All of these have been updated as far as October 23rd. That was the last time I went through all these.
Okay. Well, are we wanting to officially call it? Did you do an average of those and actually get the number, or do we want
That's just off my head. I'm looking at 83, 84, 85, 90, 80. I mean, that can't be. And yours, although that 180 you
put it back up on the. Put it back up on the screen really quick.
Yeah.
Chaz, you should have math at this time.
Let's do the math. Okay, so you're saying all these scores are up to date, right?
As far as the 23rd, yes.
Okay, so we're factoring in the 2 missing games as zeros, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're not there. They're 0.
Okay. So then the highest for Hogwarts Legacy is 85. Is that what I see?
Yep. Series X.
Okay. And then Spider-Man 2 is a 90. Oh, that's pretty good. And then we have 86 is the highest for Starfield.
So those are my 3 scores.
Okay, so that's 261 divided by 5. You have an average of 52.2.
Not good.
Congratulations.
That seems real. That seems like real life right there. That's realistic for me.
Sounds like you're scoring for everything.
For me, let's see. I got
D minuses get degree minuses. Is that it?
96 plus 93. And 96 Kerbal is a 0.
That 96 is going to help you out.
Yeah, Fire Emblem got 80.
I've got
Fire Emblem. Divided by 3. Oh, no, not divided by 3. Crap, I did the math wrong.
You just got to do us two, because whoever's lower.
Mathing at 11.
I think you got me by just like a narrow margin. You probably got me by like 5
I think
points.
those 2 zeros are going to destroy that 96.
I'm telling you,
76 and 93
automatically.
I'll tell you what mine is in a minute. I want to get Metal's score just so I can get his full average. So go and scroll down for a minute.
Yeah, 87.
So we got 87 plus no Final Fantasy Rebirth, 91. Ooh, 91.
Although I think I only put 87 because Final Fantasy hadn't come to Xbox. It's supposed to. I think
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. He's won.
Oh yeah, he's won anyway. So whatever.
Man, Baldur's Gate. That's the highest of all of them. 96. Or wait, no, I had 96 too for Zelda, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then what? 86? No, 88 for Armor Core.
Armor Core was a little more not middling, but like it was just under the 80s.
Okay. So here is the final scores. Unless I did my math wrong, which is wholly possible, but Nobody tell me. The winner, of course, is Metal Gamer. Yay, with a 72.4. Woo. And I did an average still with
Ooh,
5.
I
I
gotta
probably could have
see.
dropped low. Yeah, I don't know, man. We're bad at this. All right, so you got a C as the high achiever here. Second
Yay.
place is me with a 53.8, meaning Chaz, you came with a 52.2. I beat you by 1.6.
Wow, we suck.
Wow.
1.6.
We were terrible.
I'll check the math again here in a bit just to make sure I didn't mess anything up. We can do a final score check on Metacritic afterwards, but regardless, Metal, you won. So that means even if my math's wrong, you're telling one of us
So I
to
just-
do or play a terrible game.
So I just thought about
won't-
it.
Oh,
He's gonna
Well, I
make
guess
me.
not terrible.
He's
You get
gonna
to
make
pick.
me play Elden Ring. I mean, what? He's not gonna make me play anything else.
Well, let's not make him decide right
we'll
now.
see.
So
Yeah, let's give him
the
some
one thing
time.
I
Next-
Back to
forgot.
the end of the year.
I forgot we didn't hash out. So, are we trying to make someone complete a game, or are you trying to we just say you get to play this game for 10 hours? I mean, what are we?
I thought it was you play the game.
I don't think I could finish Elden Ring. Like I literally don't though.
Well,
Oh, you don't,
maybe
you
you
don't
can be
know how to
kind.
take?
I was gonna say like we should put a time limit, 10, 20 hours, whatever you want.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because here's the thing. I know if I would have lost, one of you jerks would have made me play like the creepiest, scariest game I could, and you would make me finish it. So you would make me go through my worst nightmare. So I feel like we should make Chaz go through his worst nightmare and try to finish Elden Ring.
And I will.
We can let's
If I do play
let's
Elden
think
Ring,
about it.
if I do play Elden Ring, I'm also gonna look up like the easiest strat. Like what is the
That's
easiest?
fine.
What is
You
the
can
easiest
play the game
class?
however you want.
What is the easiest class? Where can I find the best weapons? Like
I don't think there's
That's
anything
fine.
easy about that game, but okay.
I know that's why I'm mad already.
Well, we might be getting ahead of ourselves. Let's give Metal a little bit of time. Maybe the next podcast, when we come back on December, he can have decided what the punishment's going to be. And I said, I got to recheck the math, maybe, because there's only a 1.6 point difference between us. If I did the math wrong, or if any of the Metacritic stuff has updated and we didn't catch it, things might change. Maybe I still want to be the loser here, which means I'll have to play whatever horror game you guys want me to. But let's see. Regardless, Metal, congratulations for not picking games that aren't coming out this year.
I wish I had some fireworks.
I mean, I took a gamble on freaking.
I've got fireworks on my end.
Yeah,
Not
throw
that
your
they're gonna-
fireworks on. Fireworks show.
Where are they?
Fireworks. I love
Yay.
fireworks.
That makes up for you working so much now. You winning, right?
Yeah. I gotta do my due diligence and play some more games.
Yeah.
So Supergiant said they released that information September 14th.
Last year, yeah.
What was their update?
No, he's talking about this year. September
Oh,
14th
of
of
this
this year for
Yeah, for Hades too. So that means that
Missed-
information is
missed
old
that.
now.
yeah, probably.
We
we
missed
just
it completely.
completely missed it.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
I'm actually surprised that someone. I'm surprised. I mean, I haven't kept up with Kotaku or anything, but I'm surprised none of those people caught up that.
well,
I think because there's so little on the game, if it was mentioned, it probably
Yeah.
shot under most people's radar. So
I just
they did for us
realized the
too.
reason why I thought it was coming out is because that it was like a legit gameplay trailer, and it was like a meaty one. It's like a meaty gameplay trailer where I was like, "Oh, that's a lot for them to show. It's got to be almost done." And stupid,
Hard to say.
wrong.
Well, whenever we do this again next year, we really need to consider games that could be going into early access because that changes
Everything.
the whole
yeah.
dynamic of how this works. So we might retweak this for next year. If you guys have enjoyed this long-term, epic saga of how these Metacritic scores have played out, let us know if you have any suggestions on how we can maybe do this more interestingly or some different challenge aspects to it. I'd love to get some more input on it. But congratulations, Metal. So proud of you.
Yay.
You're a winner.
Yay.
You're a winner in life.
All right,
All right,
moving along.
Millionaire.
Move,
Move.
Chaz.
Hold on.
Move,
Let me
Chaz.
get a second. I think.
Some people need to get some sleep.
Hold on. I think my stuff froze.
Froze.
Why is
Sorry.
that?
All right,
That's why I'm like trying to figure this out. Okay, it unfroze. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so what are we moving? We're moving on to highlights from the hordes.
highlights.
You and your highlights.
Metal, you haven't got to talk like at all tonight. We have been monopolizing everything with our terrible banter. So why don't you go first,
My brain is
Mister, in
not
your lovely
working.
voice?
Yeah, real quick. If you guys don't know, Highlights from the
My
Horde
brain
is
ain't
just where
working.
we, I don't know, find items from our collections and just kind of talk about them, what they mean, why we like them, why we haven't thrown them into the garbage yet.
Maybe we found them in the garbage. Huh? Just saying.
Mm.
I want to find something in
So yeah, go
garbage.
ahead. I lost my one image for that. I gotta go look for it.
Oh,
So take it away.
my brain isn't working, but I don't remember if I showed any of these already. I can't remember, but I guess just for the heck of it, I know. We were talking about it earlier, but since Mario RPG is coming out, hey, you got one of these. Did I show this
Oh,
already?
I
I
don't
think
think I
I
have
did.
Oh
seen.
wow.
Is that VHS? Or is that
No,
the
this is the
Japanese? That's
actual
just
game.
the Super Famicom. Oh, I don't remember them being that.
Yeah,
Well, I guess they are. I have one up there,
skinny.
don't I? I feel like usually when I see the Super Famicom, they're vertical on the box. That's interesting. 'Cause
This
I've got
is the way it is.
that's interesting. I've got like my Mario World up there, and it's like a vertical art
Yeah,
on the box. Oh, that's interesting.
it's a
Man,
little
that's
card
cool.
and stuff. Yeah,
Ooh.
since it's about to come out and stuff. I have the other one back there, but that's not as cool as this one. This one has like a really thick book, Goty, and it's like
Ooh.
full of awesome little tidbits and how to use you know the
I'm
interface, and
curious.
it tells you everything about the items and stuff. I remember back in the day they used to do that. They used to tell you like all the items that you can get in the game, and just kind of like work around like all the little stuff, and
I'm
how to
curious how
do the
different the
music.
manual is from the American version.
Yeah, it's
I've got the
completely different.
American version up there.
I'm wondering how different it is. I'm sure it's very different because look at that front cover. Thing looks
Well, I
crazy
figured the
different.
cover would be different, but I'm curious if like the layout of like where the items are and stuff like that inside is completely different. I'm not gonna pull mine down, but just curious.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. That would be hard to say, but since it's coming around the corner, I figured to show that. I thought I showed it already, but I guess not. Yay!
I
So
don't recall that.
good.
I do love
Yeah.
Famicom, Super Famicom stuff. Like the artwork, I think is usually not every time, but I think typically it's better. I think it's something striking about that with like the white background, just the characters on it. I think it's kind of nice.
It's
Like
so
on
pretty.
mine,
I
it's
like it.
the black background. It's got like the castle in the back, but like it's a little muddier. I think looking with all the stuff there. Like yours, I think very clean. I
All
like
right,
that.
I'm good. I had to
Yeah, it's
find
super
my
clean.
background. My background, I lost it. All right. Sheesh.
I like how it says in the back for sale and use in Japan only and commercial rental prohibited.
Ooh.
It's like, whoa, that's crazy. That means you can rent out.
Fun.
Cool.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I got.
Very cool.
Yeah, I got to talk.
All right, Chaz, your turn.
All right. My items, nothing super crazy. It's just since we were gonna be talking about Spider-Man, I kind of last second kind of chose it, but it's just my basic copy of my favorite Spider-Man game ever's.
Oh man, I remember that when I played it the first time. Dude, I was like 13.
This literally, like, I have such like, I'm sure there's probably a lot of Phoenix, especially, but like, I have so many like nostalgic memories playing this game. It's one of those. I don't know what it was about older games, but like the audio, like I can hear like audio cues still from this day, of scenes from the game, and I don't know if maybe that's like maybe because audio is so good now, and there's like I don't know what do you think that's just nostalgia? It's just because you played it so long, you remember things so clearly.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Because like I'll play a game now that I love, but like I can't think of like an audio cue or nothing. But then you tell me to remember a game, a game like this from like 20 years ago, and I'm like, I remember swinging around. I remember Stan Lee being the narrator of this game, which is actually
Mhm.
super cool. And then all of the music, I love the weird surfer Spider-Man, the doom 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 doom. I don't know.
I think part of it, like these games that you grew up with, like think about what your priorities were back then. It was playing one of these games. Like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of threw yourself out them. That you made memories with them. That not that you don't make memories with the games now in the same way, but I don't know. Like I feel like there's so much other stuff going on in your life that I think to have that same connection with the game is harder as you get older. So I think the ones you grew up with in your childhood, I just want to say like those Spider-Man games, like Spider-Man 2 for me, is always gonna be so hard for me to say, you know what, the Insomniac one's better, even if it technically is. In my heart, it's not. So I don't know.
It also could be that like, it also could be that they're, because nowadays a video game and things are so realistic and things are so cinematic on their own that they kind of resemble movies. They resemble other forms of media that are out there. Whereas back in the day, nothing else really felt like a video game, because video games, technology wise, they weren't up to snuff to other things. So video games had to have their own distinct sound and you know what I mean.
They were also more gamey. Like
Yeah, more,
a lot of
yeah.
games now, that's maybe what you're getting at. Like a lot of games now are these experiences, right? They blur the line between game and movie and
yeah.
whatever it may be. Back then, a game was a game. I think that was true up until even like the 360 era to a certain extent. I think that's when it started to kind of like shift and be more cinematic, more whatever. But no, I appreciate when a game sometimes is first and foremost a game, and the gameplay and it being fun is the most important part. It's not all about a great story. It's about having fun while you're playing it. And I think some games have lost that to a certain extent.
Kind of reminds me of like just thinking about Gears of War. Like I can hear the sound, like we played that so much, but I can hear the sound of like you crouch running. Like there's so many like audio cues from like older games that I don't know. I'm sure there's probably younger people that are playing Fortnite right now that 20 years down the line they'll be like, I remember the parachute sound.
I'm sure they will.
Something, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a rant if I go too far down this
you're
rabbit hole,
good.
but
You're good.
I agree with you.
All right, so you want to take it away, Phoenix?
I can't. Sorry, I was mixing with my screen. I think I don't look like a Cheeto anymore. For some reason, I was going orange and pulling a Donald Trump, so I think I look more
you look like you had jaundice for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. All right, so I actually have 2 items. I'm sorry. I'm hoping this one makes Chaz jealous. I don't know if he knows I have this, but it's related to one of the games we've been playing.
What is it,
which
Alive?
is
Oh,
Alan Wake Collector's Edition.
I actually don't have that. It's a buck, yeah.
So the way I found this, I love. It was a Goodwill find in the book section. I went over to the books. I looked at it. It was just laying on a table. I'm like, that looks kind of weird. And then when I saw the name, like, I don't know. And you pick it up, and it's a whole hidden compartment.
I've seen it, but I've never actually. Well, I've seen it, but I've never seen it.
I was really annoyed and kind of see how it's kind of like whitish there. Goodwill had written on it with a silver Sharpie the price tag, or price amount, which was annoying. But it's cool. It's got like a little Alan Wake Files book. I'll pull it out really quick.
The Alan Wake Files book actually has like a lot of lore that they took out for the web series. The web series has like a lot of stuff.
It's like a true crime kind of thing. It's got like notes and the blinding out, kind of blooming out, but fun little book. And then of course it's got not a steel book, but it's pretty like hard case covering that has the soundtrack, which is really neat, and like a bonus disc. And then of course the game's in there too. So I don't know, fun collector's edition. Just the story of finding it in the book section of Goodwill. I always get a kick out of that, but it's nice.
I see the jelliness of Chaz's face. He's like, I wish I had that.
Jelly?
It's not that cool.
Yeah, look at his face.
I forgot I had it. It's not something I honestly prominently display. It's actually like hidden behind something else on my shelf because I can't. It doesn't display super well because it's it's a big black book. But anyways, all right. So here's my other one, and I have been very excited. I have 2 because I was gonna do this before I was gonna do the Alan Wake one. The Alan Wake one I just realized last minute we were doing Alan Wake, but I've been wanting to open this
last minute I was playing
for weeks.
Oh,
weeks! I say. This is the Mario Wonder. I don't know if this will focus. Probably not. I have manual focus.
I don't even know what that is. The card?
Trading cards.
So these are trading cards that came as a pre-order bonus with if you ordered it from Walmart, which I'm actually really surprised I got them because I didn't pre-order the game early. I really don't pre-order games until like the day of when I'm sure I'm going to actually buy it. So last minute, I was looking at all the pre-order bonuses. I almost went with Target. They had like a shadow box of the characters, which was kind of neat. I'm like, cards might be collectible. I don't know. So I went with Walmart last minute. And I don't know if you know anything about these. The packs themselves right now are selling for like 40, $50 on eBay. So they're still holding a little bit of value because there's a chance to pull the super ultra rare Mario Elephant card.
Charizard?
There's only 1,000 of them. There's like a numbered card. Last I checked, that's ranging anywhere from like $700 to 1,000 on eBay. So there's a chance I'm about to strike gold, and you guys will be witness to it.
Oh, you're gonna open it
So-
live? Oh.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's the
God.
point.
Okay.
He's losing his value just by just breaking it open. But hey,
So
you won't
excited.
know unless you check
Well,
it.
I thought about holding on to and keeping it wrapped, but I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be worth 30 years down the line enclosed. Maybe it will be worth a couple of $100. Maybe worth $2. I don't know. I'd rather lose out on $50 now, potentially gain 1,000, or I don't know. I just want to open the dang thing. So
Okay. All
right.
Why not?
Here we
Just
go.
do it.
Gonna,
Do it.
gonna be exciting. See if I can do this without
In the
completely
words of
demolishing
Bon
it.
Jovi, it's your life. It's now or never.
I can't open it. I don't want to like rip it.
Gonna get a
Just use a pair of scissors.
paper cut live on the internet.
I wanted to not destroy the pack. Okay, there. Okay. I can smell
good.
elephant inside.
It's
I
a
don't know.
it's a blue eyes
Oh
white,
man, that's gross if you did.
blue eyes white dragon.
The blue eyes,
Blue
white
eyes,
dragon.
elephant Mario.
Yeah, I got
Oh,
I got an
man.
Exodia. Exodia, obliterate.
Okay. So I don't know what the
That's
okay, so I
hilarious.
guess this is the first card. Okay. So standard Mario, boring. Don't
That's
care
$1
about
million.
Yeah.
Oh no.
him. All right.
Yeah.
Boring Luigi.
Oh,
Boring
Nice.
Yoshi's. I got a Hoppo. Come on.
It
I
looks
got
like
a
Chaz.
Nabbit. I got a holographic superstar.
Oh.
Nice.
Ooh.
That's pretty.
My nipples.
Holographic
Yeah, holographic
Goombas.
Goomba.
My nipples are so tender.
Sweet.
Trotting Piranha Plant.
Mm-hmm.
Toadette. And a Poplin. And that's it.
Fascinating.
Oh
I am sad.
man, I was gonna be so excited for you if you got it. I would have been like, "Whoa, that's the bestest!"
well.
I wish I had
And it would have been caught on stream.
the wah wah
Well,
wah.
if anybody wants to buy a holographic superstar, let me know. Give you a good deal on it.
Nobody does.
That was it. My night is ruined. No, it's good.
Haha. Good night.
It's not. Look at Chaz's face. He makes you happy.
Does
Alright.
he? Does he though?
I don't know about that.
Okay, so gosh, stupid cough. It's weird. I haven't been coughing all day, and then I start talking for an hour or two, and I get it back. Okay, so now we are moving on to speed run topic news. Now we are like incredibly backed up with stories. We had like 10 or 12. We seem to only be able to ever get to like 4 or 5. Hopefully today we can get past 5, as you can see our highest score down there. So I guess you guys ready to dive on in?
Ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm hitting start. Here we go. So topic number 1, if you guys didn't know, just 2 days ago was N7 Day. And pretty much, N7 Day is their kind of thing that they do, I guess, every year since Mass Effect started to kind of celebrate Mass Effect. And BioWare really dropped a very, very short teaser for the next Mass Effect game. So, I don't know. Phoenix, what did you think? I'll play it right here.
Well, first, Metal, have you played Mass Effect?
I played a little bit of the first one.
Okay.
I have to
mean,
go too.
I think this is one of the few things Chaz and I share an opinion on. Mass Effect is my favorite game. Just like, period. Like a few things I think I enjoy more than like the first Mass Effect. As far as this trailer, well, whatever. I'll tell you, I'm not a big fan of N7 Day because when they talk about teaser, they mean teaser. Like they give you almost nothing.
Yeah.
A year or so ago, we saw a sideshow of Liara or something.
N7 Day, it's just their excuse to throw a discount up on their merch store, because that's all they advertise on N7 Day is the merch store.
I am sure this trailer has hidden little Easter eggs and stuff in there. If you look closely, there's probably like Commander Shepard's helmet somewhere.
You see visibly nothing.
people are they've already been tearing this around, looking at every little frame, like changing the brightness on stuff to try to find things hidden in the background. So there probably is something hidden there. It's not enough for anybody to grasp onto. Like until they put out an actual game trailer, especially one like I think many people are let down because of Andromeda. So I think until we see something from this game, I think there's a lot of skepticism. I love Mass Effect. I like that, it looks like it's somewhat treading some of the old school stuff with like, the N7 tag, the R is back in it. That's fine, but I want to see how they evolve from Andromeda.
BioWare just isn't BioWare anymore. I know that's such an unpopular thing, maybe perhaps to say, but like the people that made those Mass Effect games, man, they've been gone. The people that made Dragon Age, they've been gone. It's like I still love Mass Effect, but I am not holding on to like I'm a nerd. I've got my physical copies behind me. I don't know. Maybe it's such a cynical view on that, but I'm just like, I don't know.
I'm open for the next game to be great. I mean, I'm down to try something else in the Mass Effect universe, but I'm not overly anticipating it, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe one day we can have a chat and talk about what we want to see and whatever the next Mass Effect may be. But for me, in 7-Day was just a reminder that those old days are gone. I wish we could go back and relive some of the early, Shepard saga, but it's all good.
I mean, the best thing BioWare has made hasn't really been a new Mass Effect game. It was a collection.
It was Anthem,
the Legendary,
right?
Or the Legendary. No, I get. But I'm saying Legendary Edition that was awesome, but that's just remasters. It's like, I don't know. Okay,
Agreed.
So moving on to the next one, we have here. Apparently, Cliff Bleszinski was interviewed, and he pretty much just says he thinks it's time for although I'm not. He says it's time for a reboot of the the Gears of War series, but it's like he's not a part of Epic, so it's like
he moved on. He's been doing his own thing.
So it's like, how much say does he really have on anything? But like,
none.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's because I think they had tied what they had well, I'm thinking of the movie. They had Batista tied to that, so like that movie's been kind of up in the air. I don't know. What do you think, Phoenix? Or would you like to see a reboot? I
Maybe.
should say.
I'm gonna ask Metal again just to keep it involved. Have you played Gears of War? Do you have any interest in it?
By the time you guys played it, I didn't even touch it.
Yeah.
So,
Nerd.
I think the only reason this topic's even on here, me and Chaz, I think, have some like heavy nostalgia for early Gears. Like for us, that at least for me, it kind of like re-kicked my I don't know, passion for gaming, or at least multiplayer gaming. When that happened, it was like a revelation when I saw Gears of War first time. My brother-in-law's tiny little HD CRT. Yes, they had HD CRTs. I don't know. As far as a reboot of the franchise, I don't know if it should be a reboot. Like, are they talking about going back and retreading the whole Marcus Phoenix saga thing? I don't really think that's going to be overly beneficial. I mean, the way the game's going right now, it already kind of got rebooted with like the kids and whatnot as a new storyline.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think it matters much. I mean, either keep it going. I don't think it's going to matter to a lot of the people who have kept up with the franchise to a certain extent, whether they see a new game in wherever they're at right now. They did them 5, right? Or Gears 5 was the last one?
Yeah, 5 is the last one.
Yeah. So I think it could still be a Gears 6 and just be the next iteration of it. I forgot the last one left off with some weird, actually, cliffhanger. I don't know if you recall that you had a choice to either save. You had a choice to either save, oh man, I can't remember his name, Marcus Phoenix's son, or the other partner. I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, Johnny Phoenix. I don't know. I'm making it
whatever. I don't know. You basically had a split decision, and the campaign went different directions based on who you killed.
Phoenix.
So, I don't know. I don't think I would have a big incentive either way. Like going back and then redoing the first game. What does that mean? They're going to redo the gameplay of it? Like, I don't know. I think the old game still holds up. If you go back and play it, they did the Ultimate Edition back in the Xbox One game days.
That was a great yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, that satisfied it. What's your take? Do you feel like a reboot is going to help reinvigorate the franchise, or just let it die? I don't know.
I don't want them to retouch those games. Like they've already had their remaster in the Ultimate Edition. Maybe no, they haven't remastered 2 or 3. Maybe just go back and remaster. I don't want those characters brought kick back for some new game, especially when the people working on those previous games are all gone. It's like, still work with the Gears franchise, but come up with something new. Gear 6 is
Yeah.
bound to come out eventually. It's like, just wait for that.
I kind of agree. I don't think it needs to even be these characters. Like, it could be like how Mass Effect tried to do with Andromeda, just same universe, something different. There's other stories that can be told there. I think most people are separated enough from the characters and the narrative that we don't have to see the next thing in their storyline. At least I don't. And I don't really want them retreading the original narrative.
No,
Like,
I
let that
don't.
be, do something new, go from there.
Yeah,
That's just me.
those characters were too beloved. I don't want any of them to mess with. Okay, so yeah, moving on to the next one. So basically, this one came out pretty much, I guess, all because of oh gosh, what's his name? Schreiber. What's his name? Whatever. Jason Schreier.
Oh,
Jason Schreier apparently got wind that Rockstar was going to be releasing the trailer for Rockstar, or the next GTA trailer.
the Rockstar trailer for Rockstar, the Rockstar sequel of Rockstar.
He basically put that on his Twitter, talking about how he caught wind that was going to be happening. And then I guess Rockstar was just like, oh, the cat's out of the bag. We need to put out our own statement. So basically here it's just them talking about on their official website that next, or what is it? They gave a specific date. We're very excited. Early December they'll release the first trailer. So sometime next month we know that they will be releasing a trailer for GTA, for GTA 6. Although we already see that big leak? Wasn't that earlier this year?
We saw leaks, but take a leak with a grain of salt as far as the quality. Like, we saw the game in a state where it doesn't have full renders, it didn't have full lighting. So I mean,
but there were a lot
I
of
don't think it was a
people
good
that
way
were
to
looking
judge
at
the
those
game.
and were saying, "Oh, the game's got to be far already, though." And
That's very hard to say. Like, were we seeing just a vertical slice out of the game? Like, I don't recall the scope of the leaks. I know it was a lot of stuff, but a game like this that is so big and I'm sure it's gonna be pretty ambitious. I think the leak was I think the only thing it really helped us do is it confirmed Vice City pretty much, didn't it? I think was the big thing that came out of that, if I recall.
what? Say that again. So,
That is going to be it's in Vice City. I think it's the big thing that kind of came out of.
I have no
the big
idea.
leak.
I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure, and that was a rumor going into it. I'm pretty positive that was confirmed in the leaks, but maybe I'm mistaken. Those leaks came out a while ago at this point.
Can I throw a not, or probably a lot of people don't agree with me.
You can't.
But I wasn't huge on GTA 5. I thought it was just okay. And it's the first GTA I think I've played in a while where I was like, it's all right. Because I even liked 4, and I know a lot of people didn't like 4. Maybe it's just because the characters. I don't know.
I liked 5 better than 4.
Really? Okay.
I mean, here's the thing: none of the GTA's I really played for the story.
They're not super endearing games. They're just fun to mess around with. Yeah.
Yeah, they're sandboxes. I mean, I had some fun in the sandbox of GTA 5. Me and my wife actually played that together, and we had some good times making this little pink smart car as our go around vehicle, and we robbed buildings in it. It was funny. So I had fun with 5. I can't tell if I'm overly hyped for 6. I like the idea of it going and back to Vice City. Vice City is still my favorite. I know a lot of people San Andreas is where it's at, but I don't know, the 80s Miami scene, neon everywhere. That does it for me. So I think going back to that could be fun. I'm curious to see just what they do, because Rockstar, given their track record, does some relatively ambitious things. I will say though, I'm curious if they're going to go the route of Red Dead Redemption 2 versus the first Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 1 was still relatively almost arcadey, a little campy. It still felt like a game to a certain extent. And then Red Dead 2 got really, really simulated, to the point where the narrative was good, but I found the gameplay super boring. It was too tedious, too realistic. I would be a little worried if they do a similar treatment to GTA. 5 wasn't, I don't know, it still felt over the top.
Oh, it was still quality. It was still a quality game, and everything felt.
Well, I'm not even talking about quality. I'm talking about the way.
Oh, the narrative.
Do you get what I'm saying? No, not the narrative. I'm doing that comparison of Red Dead 1 and Red Dead 2 for a very explicit reason. They tried to be super ambitious with 2 to make it super realistic, from the way you got around to all the systems you did. And for me, that really dragged the game down. It didn't feel fun anymore. Like, I mean, there was fun to be had in the game, but that game was about the story. The story was excellent in Red Dead 2, and the moment-to-moment gameplay was just, it was realistic. I didn't find it fun. It was just realistic.
Whereas
I
the first
don't
one was a
think
bit
this game,
more. I
it
mean,
was
the narrative was
RPG
important, but it
still.
felt more like the side plots and the sandbox were a bit
They let the
more.
gameplay mechanics feel a little gamey still, which as we were talking about earlier, I still like when a game can still be a game. It doesn't have to be this realistic, super cinematic experience as its primary focus. So my fear is that GTA 6 does that. It becomes super grounded, realistic, which will be very impressive from a technical standpoint, which is, what they try to push with Red Dead 2, but you'll lose the fun gameplay aspect of it. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That would be my fear if I had to pick something. But I guess we'll find out. We'll see what the trailer looks like. Hopefully, we'll see some gameplay and it's not all cinematic. I guess that's my fear. We're going to see just some little 5-second cinematic trailer and it's going to show nothing of gameplay. And that gives us nothing besides just confirmation that the game is officially coming out one day.
Mhm. Okay, so moving us on, we're 2.5 minutes. So next one we have, apparently Nintendo and Sony are teaming up to make a live action Legend of Zelda movie. So pretty much looks like Sony is co-financing the film. Looks like Avi Arad and Shigeru Miyamoto are set to produce. Someone named Wes Ball is directing. Avi Arad, the name sounds familiar. Is that
That's the Spider-Man
Spider-Man?
guy.
Yeah, I just saw producer. Okay, so Spider-Verse. Interesting.
He's produced every Spider-Man movie like ever.
And it looks like Wes Ball is known for having directed The Maze Runner. Fantastic. The one thing I did want to bring up before we just one thing I'm happy about with this is it's looking as if, because remember there were rumors earlier this year we talked about that it looked like Illumination was going to be set to direct it, and I was very worried about them making it too cartoony or doing whatever they did with Super Mario Bros. So what do you guys think about this?
Go Metal. Wake up.
I'm
Say
just
some
I'm
things.
just catching wind. I'm catching wind of it now. So that's interesting. I'm a little worried about that, to be honest, and how they're gonna work
It's
it. But
interesting they're
if
working with
Nintendo's gonna be heavily involved, I guess we'll just see what the trailer brings. I'm not gonna have any
yeah.
opinion on it too much because we don't know what to expect.
It's just
I have
interesting that Sony
one.
is producing a Nintendo
I
product.
just don't want
I think
Link
it's because
to
of Avi Arad. I think that's part of it because
Yeah.
he's wrapped up with Spider-Man and Sony
Mhm.
is Spider-Man. I think I'm assuming there a little bit. I have one
my
consideration.
one.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the one thing that I think is gonna bug me is I don't want Link to have a voice.
Yes.
Mm.
And that is the problem. And I hope they keep him silent. And I hope it stays that
Can
way.
you do a movie? Well, here's the thing. Like, I would typically
But
agree.
But-
Can you
but-
have a
but-
whole movie with the protagonist being silent?
But at least if it is, it's got to be Chris Pratt.
Well,
Chris Pratt, and then everyone's happy.
All right. Bye.
you're such a dumbass.
Oh, I guess that's my question. Like, I agree. Like,
Well,
Link is the essential silent protagonist, but in a movie format, can you get away with that? Like, what movie? And there probably is one, but can you think of a movie where the protagonist doesn't say a word?
Well, the protagonist doesn't say a
I mean-
word.
yeah, doesn't have any dialogue. Easiest thing ever. No, not.
What
not
was
off the top of my head.
What was that first person action movie from like 5 years ago?
Oh,
Hardcore Henry? Was that it?
he spoke.
Did he? Oh, I didn't see the movie. I
pretty
just
sure. I mean,
I assumed
I
he didn't.
think he did. I honestly can't remember now. I know what you're talking about. I thought he spoke. I don't know. I guess that's my issue.
Unless there's dialogue in the background, and that would be really weird.
Well, that
if
was
they
the
did
whole
that.
argument. That was the whole argument with the BioShock movie, which apparently is in production too. It's like
BioShock you could do though because there's a character to Jack in
Mhm.
BioShock, right? And he spoke in the game. Like most of the other like silent protagonists, there's more to the character because he's a written character. Link is silent because he's supposed to be you, right? It's supposed to be you going out on this adventure. He is the embodiment of the player character. I don't know how that translates to a movie very well. I don't know. And here's the thing: there have been other media incarnations of Link speaking. I mean, this is going back a ways, but the '90s animated cartoon, Excuse
Yeah.
me, princess. Like, I'm not saying that was a good
Yeah.
way to handle
That's
it,
the
but
best version of
clearly, I would imagine that's on the table. I don't know how favorable Nintendo looks back on those early cartoons, but I feel like they're going to make them talk. For better or for worse, I think they're going that
Hey
route.
yo, what's going on? My name's
Yeah.
Link. I'm here to save you, princess. I'm totally not Mario at the same time.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to have a hard time appeasing all the fans, though, with whatever route they take.
You
Like,
know,
I think either they're going to, if they keep it silent, which sounds good, it's going to make the movie suffer, or they're going to pick a voice and appease nobody. So,
Christopher
Yeah.
Walken. Christopher Walken as Ganondorf. Voices
God.
Ganondorf.
I thought they already picked someone for Ganon. I don't know.
I just
whatever.
don't know if I can get the Triforce of Wisdom.
You know you would love Christopher Walken as Ganon.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan,
That's Navi.
Morgan Freeman is
Hey, listen.
Morgan Freeman's gonna be Deku Tree.
great Deku Tree.
That'd actually be pretty good. I don't know. I mean, this could be fun. I know a lot of people get down on it. I didn't think the Mario movie was bad. I didn't think it was incredible, but it was fun.
It's all right.
We'll
thought
see. This is definitely gonna be a wait and see, I think.
That's why I don't think anything of it.
All right. So we only got to touch on 4, so we didn't even reach 5 this time.
Yay, we kept our low standards.
our
I'm
low
so proud of
standards.
us.
Yeah.
So there were a crap ton of topics we didn't touch on, but I figured real quick, let me just rattle off what we did have. If you guys didn't know, Sony also shortly after all of the nonsense going on with Bungie, they decided, this is one we were talking about before, they decided to delay 6 PlayStation games. What games are they? We don't know.
Live service something.
Some sort of live service games that they're deciding to push back. Sounded like a fly near my head. I was like, what? Another one. I don't know if Phoenix wanted to quickly mention, but a channel. I don't know if Gamer watches them, but essentially Zero Punctuation, the long time YouTube reviewer who does quick videos on reviews. Essentially, the star Yahtzee Croshaw, interesting name. He left their company. What was it? After 16 years in the company, I forgot the name of it.
Escapist.
Oh, the Escapist. So basically, the company Escapist. What did they fired the lead guy of Escapist or
Escapist. I don't want to go into it too much for the sake of time. They got bought out. Things got weird.
And they didn't like. They were like that was one of their boys, and they're just like screw you.
Yeah. So I think when they fired their head guy, pretty much everybody just did mass exodus. The only thing I will say about this, which really didn't have anything to do with the article, but this was really just kind of odd to me. So I haven't been keeping up with Zero Punctuation for a while. I used to watch
I watch
it, like,
a video every now. He still was
week.
putting out stuff every now and then.
I started watching it at the very beginning. Like, I was day one, checking it out, loved it, and then I fell off it at some point. So I'd say the past couple of years I've not been paying attention. The other day while driving, I'm like, I haven't looked at any Yahtzee stuff in a while. And then when I got home, I pulled it up. It was the day he quit. And I just, like, the coincidence of that was really odd. They just got popped into my head and the day it all ended. So spooky coincidence. But I don't know.
Okay, so, and then just a couple other things. This one I won't even bring up. I think Phoenix said he didn't. There's something about the AI and the Xbox. I know a lot of people were upset about it because it's just like with all the firings and all the layoffs, it's just people being more upset that like AI is being utilized to do
AI
stuff.
is just a dirty word for a lot of people. Yeah. I'm not quite as negative on it as some. I think it very much depends on the use case of it. And I said that we don't have to make this a conversation for time, but I don't know. This is not going to be the first technology or gaming platform that really incorporates it. I don't know. I said I want to dig into it. We'll be on it for another hour. We still have a main topic to talk about, but we should revisit the whole AI implementation into gaming.
I'm sure it'll come back up. I guarantee you it will. And then a couple of the things, along with all of the Microsoft Activision stuff, Microsoft put out a very short trailer, just kind of announcing that the purchase is done. It got officially announced that Bobby Kotick will be gone by the end of this year, so Xbox is officially not bringing him back. And then there was something about Microsoft was beginning to block third-party controllers and accessories, which I'm assuming that is because they want you to buy their first-party controllers and accessories.
I don't think that's why.
Really? Oh.
The issue with that, I think, well, I know we shouldn't be getting into it, but they're trying to block it for people who are using like third-party adapters, let them use like mouse and keyboard and stuff like that. You can use unofficial controllers to basically exploit games.
Hmm.
I think the big argument here, though, is okay, instead of doing a big mass ban that is going to make it difficult for legitimate controllers to actually be utilized, why didn't they do something a little more direct at those adapters, which they should be able to do? So
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger issue.
And the only other like kind of thing I had, along with all the Xbox stuff, Phil Spencer showed up at BlizzCon and just kind of talked to the crowd there, which I think the only reason why it was perceived to be kind of a big deal was like apparently there's been talks about BlizzCon going away, and Phil actually showing up there is kind of like, oh, maybe he won't eliminate this whole event.
It
So,
seems like BlizzCon went over pretty well. Like I know in the like Blizzard's been under a lot of flack for a while, but I don't know. Most people seem pretty positive on the event. The other thing I don't think you announced or mentioned, they just announced a brand new Steam Deck. The
oh, I
Steam
forgot to
Deck
add that
OLED.
because you added it
I
kind
had
of
the
last second.
OLED.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of details on it. It's basically it's a Steam Deck with some upgraded specs and most importantly an OLED screen. I never got the first Steam Deck. I don't mobile game enough. The Switch I think has pretty much taken that spot well enough for me, so I don't know if I'll ever hop onto it. But the Steam Deck for most people, has been this big thing. It's been selling like hotcakes for a lot of people. Has filled that niche for those where the Switch I don't think was quite enough for them. So I feel this is going to do just as well. I'm a little surprised it came so soon because when did the Steam Deck come out? 2 years ago, maybe?
No, not even two. It had to have been like a year and a half, maybe. I think it's inside
And
of
I
2 years.
Possible. It's just been
I
longer.
thought
than
I
that.
had
It's been
I
longer
thought
than
I had
that,
read that
sure.
Valve was holding off too on doing some kind of hardware refresh. So this seems to come a little out of left field. I mean, cool. I thought it'd be a smaller form factor too. It still looked kind of large. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a refresh than a full like implementation of the full system.
Yeah. So we've already been going on for quite a while, but luckily our main topic is, hopefully we can keep this kind of fairly
Oh,
short.
don't even say it, Chaz. As
Fairly
soon as you
short.
say, "Oh, let's keep it short," we'll be here for 2 hours.
I just
So
cursed us.
I
But
can't
yeah,
thanks.
afford that.
but yeah, to kind of round things out, I just wanted to. We're getting near holiday season. With the Game Awards, I think Jeff Keighley normally keeps that sometime around. He does it like end of December, which I've always hated because it's like there's still games coming out. Do it in January. I don't know. That's always been a small gripe of mine.
What games are coming out into December?
No, not this year.
Like game.
Not this year, but then previous years past, there have been like, I remember there was some title that came out at the end of December, and it's like, oh, so now this game doesn't count towards next year or something. I don't know.
A lot of times they still would count it like leading up to the next
I don't
one.
remember. There was
I
a
don't know.
game I remember I was like, I didn't think it made sense. But
Either way.
yeah, either way. So we're getting into award season, and Phoenix initially I think brought up the idea of us kind of just touching on. I don't think we've officially talked about. I don't know if you guys saw, but we have a ChazZ Awards, which we had our first one last year. So Phoenix thought this would be a really interesting place to kind of have a chit chat or a talk about I don't know, kind of our experiences, our picks possibly for coming up this year, and just us talking about what we look for in our game of the years. Is that what you were kind of envisioning, Phoenix?
Yeah, like I know when we do these ChazZ Awards, we're trying to get through a bunch of games, a bunch of awards, and I think there's the just the inherent motivation that we want to talk and kind of debate the games that win, and really that's probably not the best place to do them for the sake of time. So this gives us an opportunity before we're up in this award, ceremony where we can just think about the games. I don't know if we want to make this like a ongoing thing up until the award ceremony, but especially at the game of the year, like we're pretty much at the end. To my knowledge, there's no more big games coming out. I think most of us are going to really play or check out, maybe one or two. So start getting a feel for why we think a game should maybe be at the top of that pile, what we think about, what makes a game of the year a game of the year contender. And then based on the games we played, where do we sit right now? By the way, for those who don't know how the ChazZs work, it's we all vote. So each one of us, we do get a vote individually for whatever category it may be, but it's also open to you guys. So upcoming, I'm sure Chaz will be posting some information on his socials pretty soon about links for surveys.
I posted it right on, 'cause I didn't realize, but like, you actually get a good amount of people that actually see it from my, what is it? You have like a comment section like right on my actual page, not under the videos. And I actually got a couple people reach out in there, and then also like other social medias. But yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be putting the list together, I'm sure, within probably the next few weeks, get that posted so we can start getting some feedback. You guys can start giving us your input. And then that way it's a surprise to us, too. I mean, we don't just debate between us three. I mean, we'll certainly give you our perspective, but it's really kind of a community thing. So even if you hate our opinions, which I'm sure most of you do, you can go ahead and get your own influence in there and hopefully edge out the awards the way you're looking for.
So I don't know where to start. I mean, I thought an interesting place would be for us just to kind of like throw it out there on like what exactly we look. Let me turn off the opera music. For us just to kind of talk about like what exactly we each kind of like look for, and I thought this was a really interesting like, I don't know, I guess comparison of like just narrative versus gameplay. So I don't know, yeah, what tends to be like the thing you guys like to look at more? Do you, because I'm kind of noticing, at least with, you know, I'm currently playing a game like Alan Wake, like I wouldn't say it's the most in-depth form of gameplay, but like, I don't know, that kind of narrative is, I think, what I like the most. I mean, just kind of looking back at like my favorite games again, like a Dead Space or BioShock or Alan Wake, you know. I don't know. What about you guys?
You go first, Metal.
What makes a game of the year? I would say more along the lines of like,
to you, not just like
oh, to me? Oh,
yeah.
well, for me, I guess it would be like, you know, story's definitely one of them. I think that's important, but I think gameplay, you know, the way, you know, the game kind of feels overall, especially if it's like a franchise type of game, if it's been, you know, if there's been other ones before, how much does it stack up now compared to others? You know, things of that nature, where everything just kind of comes together into like a nice package that is a very memorable package, not just something that's like, oh, this is great. Like, you know, I had so much to say about, you know, you have Zelda over there, and we have so much to say about that game. We can talk about that for like 45 minutes. Would that be game of the year for me? Yeah, probably not. I mean, but I did put about 100 hours in it. You know, give or take, like, you know, but that's a lot of, you know.
Well, Zelda,
They give you things to do, but you know,
Zelda to me is a good point to kind of look at, in my opinion, in terms of like, I think while I'm liking Alan Wake, is I'm loving the narrative. I'm loving most of the main points about it, and I think with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I think that's what was like lacking for me a little bit. Is while I did love the gameplay, I liked most of the elements of it. I don't know. For me, the narrative just wasn't maybe quite as in depth as I would have liked, or I don't know. And I understand maybe that's not the point of most Zelda games, right? They don't have like the most in-depth type narrative, or maybe tight narrative. Maybe those games are more about the gameplay. I don't know. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong on that if you guys disagree.
You're wrong. So I'm just no, it's good.
Like, you get what I'm saying. Like, a Zelda game typically will have a similar through line throughout the entire story, and it's mainly about the puzzles, or it's mainly about stopping, you know, the narrative, or just stopping Ganon once again. And it's like, I think that's what I'm liking about Alan Wake is, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it feels like every chapter or different section of Alan Wake is kind of drastically different than the previous one. I don't know if it's less I can't think of the word. It's predictable.
It's hard to compare those two games too,
kind of less
because you know,
predictable.
this is a big this is
so,
a big game compared to like Alan Wake, which is like I'm assuming that's a little bit more like linear.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Lot more.
So
linear.
that's really hard to say. Like, you know, obviously, you know, given, you know, if that game was more linear, you know, then I would have a different, you know, like an older style like Zelda game. Probably I would have a different opinion.
I think I find that take interesting, especially if we're thinking on just Zelda games. Like, as far as narratives go in Zelda games, this one was actually pretty good, I thought.
It was,
especially compared to
I
like Breath of the Wild. I thought there was
Mhm.
more narrative. I thought it was, you know, handled better. I mean, it's not, I'd say, the
They
best. And I
I
think you're right.
mean,
Zelda doesn't have like the most complex of narratives,
mhm.
but there is clearly a narrative and a story though. I can think back to every Zelda game I played, and the narrative stands out. Like, barring maybe a couple of them, like the narrative is what drove me through Skyward Sword. Honestly, that's what I loved about that game was that origin narrative. And this game, one of my big motivations was I wanted to see kind of the end game, what happened to Zelda through the tears and that kind of stuff. So,
That
um,
was the most interesting part of the narrative for the game to me, was the tears, finding out where Zelda was. That was by far the most interesting, I thought.
So I think here's, and I didn't really, I think, get to give my, uh, when I think of Game of the Year, kind of my perspective on it, because I think a lot of people want to come at Game of the Year very objectively, because you have a lot of games, you look at like a Metacritic score, you try to rank them based upon how does this narrative stack up to this narrative, how does this mechanic stack up to this mechanic. I don't like doing that because it's very, very hard, especially when you come across games that are completely different genres. Like you're trying to compare Alan Wake, which is a psychological survival horror game, to Zelda, which is an open world explorative puzzle game. Like, how do you fairly compare
You
those
don't.
objectively?
It's tough.
So, like, for me, when I pick a game of the year, honestly, I throw objectivism out of the window. It is purely subjective. Like
Do you kind
last
of
year,
like do you kind of go like, how good is Zelda in terms of a, I don't know, a kind of like where does Zelda rank in terms of, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, of open world, kind of more sandboxy type
nope,
thing, like but I'm saying like,
that's not how I would.
oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, I don't honestly even compare the game to the game. Like when I think back to last year, my game of the year,
What was
who
it?
can say it?
Ragnarok? Was it Ragnarok?
Really? Come on, Metal. What was my game of the year
mm,
last year? What game did it
well,
talk about more than any other game? And I would still talk about it today if we had the
Arceus?
time.
Was it Arceus?
Arceus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pokemans.
Yeah. Which was like a huge surprise to me. But that game was, for one, the biggest surprise to me. And although objectively, it was not the better game. There were better games objectively from a gameplay standpoint, from a narrative standpoint. It's got to come down to a, for one, fun factor. How much did I enjoy my time with the game? Now,
Yeah.
enjoyability could be how fun were the mechanics, how what kind of lasting impression the game left to me. That could be narrative. That could be because there was just a cool couple of moments in it. It's got to be what game did I have the best experience with, and that is purely
Like
subjective. And I'll be honest, it's impacted by not just the game, but even like what's going on with my life at the time. Was I in the right mood to play that game? Like that's what I was talking about earlier when we were trying to compare like Tears of the Kingdom versus like Spider-Man. I don't think Spider-Man is necessarily an objectively better game, but I was in a better mindset playing Spider-Man because it met expectations differently for me. I didn't have like this disappointment as I was playing the game, if that makes sense. So when I think of a game of the year, which one during my time with it did I enjoy the most? I don't try to stack them up side by side based upon mechanics. I feel like that's way too hard in many cases, which a lot of people try to do. It's got to be which one just felt right while playing it this year. More so, like you've just enjoyed your time with it
Well,
for whatever reason.
that's an interesting way to characterize how you look at it, because if you're saying that in your that how you like to rate your favorite experiences is, like you're saying, having a consistent good time all the way through, right? You're saying there weren't many down times or low moments for you throughout the experience. That's interesting because part of the
I'm
reason
not saying no low points. Let me
well, no,
clarify. I mean, I don't
but
think
you
you're.
mean the ones that have lesser low point. It's all about like, I want a
What did I
consistent
enjoy
experience
most
throughout. Yeah,
overall?
yeah.
Either left like a lasting impression or just my enjoyment with it for whatever reason was the
Well,
highest.
that's why I'm just saying, like, that view, if that is, that's an interesting way to approach it, because remember, all year my game of the year has been 16, Final Fantasy 16, and Gamer can attest to this. While I loved 16, and I told you guys that game has some incredible highs, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the cleanest experience through and through. I feel like there's a lot of lows, and there's some dull moments or dull stretches in that game, and it's like, but the reason why it was so high for me is because the highs are really good. and
And
it's
you
like,
look past the lows.
yeah,
Like with me with Arceus, and I keep going back to it because I'm now given the chance to kind of talk about it. Arceus had a lot of lows, but I didn't care. The highs, as you're saying, were so high. The experience overall was so enjoyable for me that I overlooked that stuff. That's why I say it's very subjective, and I think it's very hard for me to try to stack one game against the other, except for how did I feel while playing it.
well,
So
that's why I
I think that
ultimately, or sorry, good.
no, go ahead.
No,
I'm
so
sorry, I'm
that's
cutting
why
you off.
ultimately in my head I've kind of pushed 16 out of the way of Spider-Man and Alan Wake is because I feel like so far with those two titles, I had a consistently fun time so far with Alan Wake through and through so far, and then Spider-Man 2 through and through so far. Where like I was having fun pretty much moment to moment anytime
Mhm.
I'm doing something. Whereas with Final Fantasy 16, there are moments of dullness, there are moments of, you could say, boredom at times. But again, like those highs are so fun and so cinematic and great that, like, I don't know. I guess I kind of push it out of the way a little bit because of the consistency of the experience of those two other titles so far. So I don't know. I agree with you on a yeah. That's all I want to say.
And I'm not saying this is the right way to do a game of the year, like especially if you're thinking about like in a larger institution like the Game Awards, like you almost have to be somewhat, I don't know if I'll say objective, but there's a whole different kind of weighting system there, right? And they are looking at narrative versus this, but arguing that stuff can be, I think, kind of pointless sometimes too. Like a game is such a complex medium, it's such a combination of so many different things, and ultimately a game at its core should be about you enjoying playing it. And once again, subjective, but I don't know. A lot of people look at these, and that game can't be a higher form of art, but I think when you elevate it to that level, you lose, I think, the gamified aspect of it, if that makes sense. Maybe that's a bad way to define it, but I like a game that's still a game. I mean, it can have a little more to it. It can certainly have a great narrative, and it can certainly be a bigger, like, more comprehensive thing. But it's got to be a fun game where the experience kind of is overarching is high throughout the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm probably not explaining that super well. I said it's very much something that comes from the heart and up the brain when it comes to picking a game of the year, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to kind of run through some of the, I guess, potential candidates? I know we've been talking about some back and forth, but we got a list here of what I think, at least for the games that we played, this is by no means an exhaustive list of all potential Game of the Year candidates, but we've got 6, 7, 8 games here that we've played that we know are going to be on a lot of Game of the Year lists. Just want to give a quick rundown and see kind of where they sit for us.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Good.
So we already kind of talked Tears of the Kingdom. Does anybody right now feel like this is going to be top of their list?
Is it even top three for any of us? I think that's kind of interesting.
I'd give it a top 3.
Top three for you. For me, I don't think it's in my top three. Just outside. It's probably like just on the outside of that for me. What about you, gamer?
As much crap as I gave it, it is probably gonna be one of my top three because I put way too much time in that game, and I was on it consistently. Like
Mhm.
it was a lot.
Yeah, like it took me a while on that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say when I'm picking up the Switch at like midnight, I'm gonna play it until like 2 in the morning. Like there's something wrong. Like that the game's got to be freaking good for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to sit between like one of the three.
Okay.
The moment-to-moment
For
gameplay I thought was fun in Zelda, although I do think it got a little tedious. I think it started to show its cracks down the line. It wasn't like Starfield, which we'll talk about, where the more you played, the worse it got. Like this game, yeah, it got kind of tedious, but it was still fun. There's things I wish would have been different about it, but we've talked this game to death. So it didn't. I think my only reason it drops down was it didn't reach my expectation level, and I try not to be like super high up here for my expectations. You know what I wanted was real Zelda dungeons, not even a whole bunch of them, just a few. And this game didn't give me really any, so that's just gonna always bring it down a little bit for
I
me.
do think that I do think the game ended up being fun, but I agree with you. That was the big pull down for me. Was I thought it was a little tedious. There were a lot of, like, I don't want to say recycled, but there were some repetitive aspects of it, like a lot of the collectathon type things. What did you have the is it the Deku nuts, Deku seeds, whatever those stupid?
Seeds.
Yeah, those were annoying. Actually, were those in this game or was that Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, they're here.
Yeah, that's you had the
Korok seeds, not
yeah,
Deku. Korok.
Korok. There you go. I don't know. It's just it was fun. I'd be hard pressed to act as though I got anything out of this that I wasn't expecting. Maybe is my one problem with it.
I think what slowed it for me. What slowed it down was all the building.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I enjoy the building mechanic. I'm not downing it because that's a pretty awesome mechanic that they have there. I just think it just slowed everything down. Like you're playing. It's just like, and then you have to every single freaking time you go down to the depths, you gotta get something to build. It's like okay, but then all of a sudden you can get to auto build, and it's like yeah, build for you automatically. It's like oh geez,
I think the depths
I
could have.
guess.
I think the depths could have been an incredible experience. I personally feel like it was a little undercooked. Like I didn't feel like I feel like it could have been a much smaller area and they could have packed it with perhaps more interesting stuff. I think well although that would have ruined the aspect of it because it's supposed to replicate the place above. I just felt like it was just kind of too open. There wasn't that much that was super interesting.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think the part of it is, I think this game in general, I think Miyamoto or somebody said to this extent, like, I don't think they really ever want you to 100% this game. Like, you can, but I think it's a game where you should be like, you hop in, you experience part of it, you kind of move on to the next thing. Like, in small samples, the depths I thought was perfectly fine. I went through and tried to map out the entire freaking thing. And I think that's when the cracks start to show. You start realizing, oh, that's just kind of repeated from over here. This space is empty. That's redone. But if you just like randomly fall on a spot, hang out for a few minutes, and get out of there, I think it keeps it fresher. And I think that's true for a lot of things in the game. If you just kind of take a little smattering of each element, kind of work your way through the game, and don't try to comprehensively do everything, you're probably going to have a better overall feeling about it because it doesn't feel like it dragged on or got repetitive too much. But if you try to, which is the way I play a lot of these games, exhaustively go through every section, every area, look for all the shrines, this game wears thin after a certain point. So we don't spend forever on it, but I enjoy the game. It's not going to be my game of the year. I'd probably put it number 3 if I had to rank it somewhere.
That's
The game's
closer
at
to
least
where
on the
I
list
that's
that I
closer
have.
to where I'd have it. Goodness, can't talk. What next?
All right, so we got Final Fantasy 16, which I did not play, but you kind of given some of your base opinions on it. Do you want to elaborate as far as where it sits for you guys?
Go ahead, gamer. I've talked so much about Final Fantasy 16 at this point.
I need to finish it, but I really do because I'm really enjoying that game. Like I sit down and I just want to play it.
Do you at
It's
least agree
so
with
good.
me, gamer, that like the game can be very slow at points? Like there's a
It
lot of
can be,
talking, there's a lot of dialogue, and I don't know.
but you know what? It says, but like when it slows down like that, is because they're focusing more on the stuff that's happening in the area that you're in. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have some areas that are just like, what is going on here? And then you go there, you do whatever, and it's like it's slow. You find out what's going on, and then all of a sudden it starts speeding up. It's like, what is going on? Like, and then before you know, you're getting to a battle with the black shields. It's like, what the hell's going on there? Like, it's pretty. It's like a little roller coaster, and I think that's what it kind of tugs you around a little bit, which is kind of nice.
Gosh, I decided I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna bring up more stuff. I do think in
Go
the
ahead.
end, the flaw for me with this game is that it went on for probably too long. For how gosh, I don't want to say narrow the game is. Linear. The game is far too linear to have gone on as long as it did. Like I feel like if they would have kept the linearity but made the game 10, 15 hours shorter, it could have been an amazing experience. Like gamer can attest, some of those fights with the icons are like so
So good.
freaking fun, and it's just
They're
like
so fast.
you know
They're just like hack and slash nonsense. It's
I,
just freaking great.
again, because the game's linearity and because of how it's really not that difficult in terms of strategy and stuff. It's like it shouldn't have gone on as long as it did. I think that's going to end up being my thing with this game. Is just like it. They would have made it a more tight experience. It could have been incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the story so far, at least for me, has been really good.
Story's so
I
fun.
don't
Like,
know.
yeah, it's
It's just. I mean, there's like you said, maybe it is. I'll find out when I get there at some point. But the highs do trump the lows for me. So
no,
I would say that will probably sit at like a 2.
no. So which
'Cause
one's
that is just so good.
yeah? Which one's
So
next?
next is Baldur's Gate 3, which I know for
I
a
played for
lot
a
of people
very
out
short amount
there,
of time.
yeah, a lot of people I know rank this very, very high, and I think we're going to see this name pop up a lot in Game of the Year conversations based upon the general public reception and critical reception. I think Chaz, you're the only person who's played it, and
I thought
not
it was
too
like
keen on it.
no. I
'Cause you didn't finish it, right?
I did not finish it. I got maybe 10 hours in, 10, 15. I thought it was like I see why people love it. I see why it's an incredible game. I just felt like I don't know, maybe for me I felt like I can't think of the word. It was almost like option overload. The game lets you do almost darn near whatever you want. And I guess I just felt like I don't know, is I can't think of the word, like
Your brain
overloaded.
couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Too much freedom.
Again, there's so many out you can see on screen on the bottom. There's like that's not even the full thing. Like you have so many options and I don't know, I found it kind of difficult because they were like you not only do you have like powers on the bottom, but you also have another screen that's got an inventory and that comes up and that's a whole nother set of things and I don't know. I think what ended up kind of being annoying to me is I ended up not liking the gameplay of the combat. I don't know that I've just never been into like the XCOM turn based and to be honest, it's like I probably should have known that going into this game that was a possibility. And other than that, though, like the actual like narrative and the actual RPG-ness of like the D&D aspects of like the dialogue tree and like all sorts of different of avenues you have of like affecting the story around you, that is like the depths of which that you can go to affect the narrative and stuff like the dice rolling you're seeing, all of that is like fun and incredible. Unfortunately, combat takes up a lot of your time within the game, so if you're not vibing with the combat, it's like
Yeah, that's fair.
but yeah, like again, it's a truly incredible RPG. Like I think it's incredibly worthy of all the scores people are giving it. Like it really is like a 90. It's just unfortunately an aspect of the game I wasn't super fond of. I don't know. Is that fair, or
That's
do you think that's like
I think it's fair. So that's why I think I don't like to judge games objectively, because if you do, I think for many people, this objectively is probably going to be one of their top games. But if that doesn't sit well for you, that's not the experience you had, you didn't resonate with it, I feel like that's perfectly fine. Your game of the year should be what you felt the best playing. So if this is not that, I think that's perfectly valid. But maybe I'm sure you'll get well, hopefully you'll get some comments that will fight back against you. I don't know.
well, again, this isn't like Elden Ring where I would like vehemently argue that I didn't enjoy the experience. I thought there were aspects of this again that I was like blown away by. Like there's some really cool stuff. Um, I don't know. As opposed to Elden Ring, there's no cool stuff in that.
Okay, let's move on for you to piss off the rest of your two people still on
I
your
already
channel.
see it coming. I'm gonna have to replay it. It's just like I need to face it. I'll have to play it again here eventually.
All right, so here's an interesting one. Diablo 4, because that was a big game that came out. People have been hyping it forever, and we didn't really talk about it a whole lot. Like, it kind of came and went.
I fell off after like 10 hours, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I don't know if Metal, your experience is different. I ended up playing it longer after a point. Like, my first run, I beat the story, played through as a wizard, or a sorcerer. What do they call him in this game? I think it was sorcerer. Did not have a great time. And then I switched over to a necro for the first season. My opinion changed almost 180. Like, I feel like the way some of these classes were balanced initially was really all over the place. And I think your enjoyment was really going to depend on if you chose a good class or not. So I enjoyed my time on that season 1. I've heard season 2 is actually really good. I did fall off it. Like there was a point where I got to the grindy aspect of the season. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break from this for a couple of days, and it broke the magic real quick. I didn't feel inclined to come back, but I've heard season 2 is pretty good. They've added more content, fixed some things, and I do feel like if you get the right class, right build, it's still good old Diablo looting. I don't think I enjoyed it more than 3 overall for various reasons that we've talked about. I still think 3 sits higher for me
I
just in the
think
Diablo kind of structure.
3 felt a little more. I don't know how to explain it. Like maybe it felt more arcadey in a way.
Yeah, it felt more fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
4, I think, gets to the fun, but 4 also fights you for the fun too. Like they were trying to bring the balance levels down for stuff. It was harder to feel OP, which some people might prefer, but I like Diablo when I get to that power fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 lets you get there a lot easier, a lot more often. 4, it was hard. And I think that although it was still fun, the mechanics, looting was still for the most part fun. It never hit those same highs as 3. So I was always kind of chasing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it never got there for me. So good game. It's not going to fit probably even in my top 3 this year, though. Maybe I'll revisit it in a year and it'll be a very different game. 3 has evolved a lot. But yeah, 4 is kind of mid-ranking for me right now.
Real quick in chat, we have Lencho. I guess when we were talking about Baldur's Gate, he said, "My friend Gumby loves Baldur's Gate." Baldur's Gate? That's funny. I don't think he meant to say it. But he said he just thought it was weird from what his friend just thought the game was weird and enjoyed he said it had many questionable explicit sex scenes. LOL.
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about
Yeah.
the romancy
You
stuff,
could
which
romance
almost
animals
puts
or
me off.
something.
It almost puts me off to it. Not that I mind that stuff being a game to a certain extent, but to make it feel like that's like a primary focus, it almost feels like in all the media that picks up on it. But maybe that's just, that's media. So I don't know. All right. Anybody else have anything to say about Diablo 4? Metal, I know you played a little bit. Anything? Does it rank anywhere on your list?
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Oh.
Me and my wife have not come back to it. We want it. Maybe we just need to get the time to do so. We've just been all over the place, but I would like to go. I want to give it a chance and try to play it again. I heard that, like, besides you saying that, like, I heard that they did do some fixes and they're trying to balance it out, and it's a lot more fun now, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll get back to it when I can.
Hey,
Right
baby,
now, it still sits kind of low.
baby, come back.
Sure.
I love you, baby.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a fun one. Starfield.
Hey.
You guys talk about that. That's all you.
I don't.
Yeah.
I heard Chaz likes it. It's like the equivalent of Yu-Gi-Oh playing cards.
I also don't think this is actually going to sit on many people's Game of the Year list for those who have actually played through it. I'm sure there are some. I just kind of left here because it's a high-profile game this year, right? People have been anticipating this for a long time. I've said my piece about it. This is probably my least enjoyable Bethesda RPG, and in some ways, it has retroactively made me go back and rethink my passion for other ones. Not that I don't think I would still go back and enjoy playing Fallout 3 and stuff like that, but it made me realize what I loved about the Bethesda games and how much I don't like them when that thing is not there, which is the open exploration. This game does not have that. The exploration you have is like super either just artificial or super thin. There's not you go off in this direction, you're going to find something cool feeling, which for me was always the Bethesda staple. So when you're left without that and you just have those Bethesda systems, the inventory management, which is always pretty mid. Sometimes the conversational stuff is pretty mid. You're just left with a game that sits kind of bland. It's hard for me to even say all of it is bad. I know we've had this argument. I still feel like it is bad, kind of, but I know there are people who are going to find enjoyment in this. But to make a game of the year,
the game almost to an extent, like if you, and it's a weird thing to say, but like the game can almost make you resent it if you play it the wrong way. Is that a very odd way to put it? Like if you don't play this game correctly, I felt like you could like hate this game.
Define correctly for this game. I think that's my hard thing. Is like how do you play this game, or what kind of like mental gymnastics do you have to do to make?
Don't go exploring.
But when the game is basically telling you that you should be exploring, but there's no real good exploration built into it. Like the game is at odds with itself a lot. Um, I don't know. I had a hard time with this game. I really wanted to, and like this, I kind of want to go about even like
It's
Zelda.
tough because
I
me and
went
you
into it
love space and we love RPGs, and it's like this should be our wheelhouse. This should be my game of the year in terms of like themes. So sorry, good.
No, I mean, I'm trying to remember where I was even going with it. I think it's once again expectations you have going into it and how well does the game meet that. This game, honestly, I felt like I had real low expectations. It was gonna be a real low bar to clear. I literally just wanted Skyrim in space. I didn't care about all the hype. I don't feel like I got hyped for this game. Like I feel like I thought I knew what I was getting into, knowing Bethesda and like looking at the gameplay trailers. But I didn't even get that. Like, I know people are gonna say, yeah, this is just Skyrim or Fallout in space, but it's missing what made Skyrim and Fallout period fun or interesting. Part of it is the story, part of it is the exploration, part of it is the kind of weirdness. Like all those core elements that make those other games enjoyable, I feel like are just missing. And as I said, you're left with systems, Bethesda systems, which on their own are not they feel very archaic now. They feel old, and you notice it a lot more, and you're a lot less forgiving of it without that quote unquote Bethesda magic. You take out that Bethesda magic, where it's just exploration, and you're
Would
not
would
left
you
with a
would
lot of enjoyment.
something I thought about, but like,
Sorry.
would you even say the entirety of this game's experience was as fun as like the one Omega section in like Mass Effect 2 or anything?
No,
Like Mass Effect,
none of the characters were,
and I
I
know
think, overly
comparing it to Mass
engaging.
Effect like an all-time great, that's probably not fair, but I mean,
I think why not? I mean,
why
they're both
not? Yeah.
RPGs, they're both in space. I mean, they're
Yeah.
the exploration aspect's different, but if this game doesn't have exploration, so honestly, I think it's more on par with that kind of game because now you're just comparing. Okay, you have combat sections, you have RPG sections, you have narrative and companion stuff. If I look at each one of those side by side with anything in Mass Effect, this is like way, way, way
Like
under par with any of
Child's
that.
Play compared to, yeah.
It's not just child's play. It is just it feels old. It feels bland. It feels simple. Like maybe that was the direction they were going because I know they're trying. It feels grounded. That did not serve them well here at all. There could have been something else that elevated it, sure, but this was a boring game for me. And the more I think about it, the more I come back very negative on it. And I hate that because I know a lot of work went into it. And mechanically, it's probably not quote unquote a bad game. Some people are just like kind of the tedium that I'm sure you're going to go through with this, but it was not me. So I'm sorry. I'm going to rant again if I
No,
keep on
I'm
going.
good.
This was
I've
nowhere near
I've
my game of the year.
I could tell gamers ready to hit
He's
the
like, shut up, Phoenix.
shut
I've
up.
heard it. I've heard enough.
So do we have
Just
any
wait for my next
more?
Arceus rant.
Do we have any more games? Or
That's
is
the
it
last game in here.
Yes, but the next three I think will go pretty quick. So we kind of already talked
talked
about
about
them. So
Mario Wonder,
Spider-Man
right?
2.
Or were you
Well,
talking?
Spider-Man. Well,
Good.
either way. Spider-Man 2 is the next one
Oh,
on
we've
my
talked
list
about it
here.
already. Yeah.
For me, right now, out of all the games I've played this year, I'm trying to go back on my list because I've been trying to keep track. Of course, Chaz deleted all of our old
Shoot.
podcast records, so it's hard for me to keep up.
Sorry.
This is probably my game of the year. And to be fair, it's not because I think it's the best game ever. For me, it just met my expectations. I had the most fun
It's
with it.
kind
So
of
once
like
again, subjectively,
not to compare it to another Sony game, but like kind of similar to Ragnarok, where it's like it does what you want to do. It gives you the experience you were expecting, and I actually think
Yeah.
maybe this probably better than Ragnarok. I think, but
once again, subjective, very different games. I had more fun playing this one, but I really jive with Spider-Man stuff, so I think that helped. As I said, it met me right where I was at that moment. I wasn't disappointed, and that helps a lot when you're not disappointed going into a game. And everything about it, I thought at its core was fun. So
I do
I'm
think
overlooking a lot. I'm a little biased.
I think if Alan Wake 2 seriously falters or skips a beat, I think Spider-Man 2 could squeeze in for me for Game of the Year. For me, I just gotta wait and see what happens with Alan Wake 2.
Sure.
But yeah, what about you, gamer? Zelda, I think Zelda's high for him. 16. He still needs to finish 16.
Yeah. Well, there's some RPGs that I started that I really liked that I was really
Oh,
enjoying.
did you ever get to start Sea of Stars? That would be an interesting one.
I wanted to start Sea of Stars and haven't started it, and I saw some fantastic things in it because
That looked like that could be
really
a
want to play that.
contender if you like those type of games.
Yeah, like that one and Chain of Echoes was really, really fun. Like those two games were really good on my
Maybe I'll
list.
try and
I
play
need to
Sea of
play them.
Stars for the holidays. Maybe like Christmas time.
That sounds like a
I think
great
that's
idea.
I think that's part of my issue with the games this year. I feel like the games I played are not necessarily games I think are probably the best games that are out there. Like Spider-Man 2 is great. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I was really intrigued by Sea of Stars and never got around to it. I didn't even play. I want to play Cocoon, that
Mm.
indie game by the guys who did Limbo and Inside. And there's a few others like that that
Yeah.
just kind of slip by. And honestly, if I ever get a chance to play them this year, they might easily outdo some of the games that are on this current list. But I don't know. I feel like I played less
Well,
games this year. It was hard for me to keep up with it.
Would Super Mario RPG won't
yeah.
count, right? That won't count towards.
Why
I
not?
mean,
It
it
comes out this
can. Why
year,
It's
not?
doesn't
a
it?
it's a remake.
Comes
Or
out like next week,
Oh
doesn't
no,
it?
I think it should count. Like it depends on, and we've had this conversation. Like, because our what do we have?
no
Resident Evil
remasters.
4 came out this year,
That's a
didn't
full
it?
remake.
And Resident Evil 4 was a full. That
Yeah,
wasn't just a remaster; it was a remake.
it was a
Now I'm
remake.
curious if I think it will depend on when Super Mario RPG comes out. Do they change enough about it to make it feel like a new game? I think that's where the argument would be. But one of us would have to play it.
I kept running into like little articles about it, and I try not to look at them because I really want to go in there with fresh eyes because I played the original, and they kept quite a few of the nuances of the original, which is kind of nice.
I don't
Mhm.
think they're
So
going to change
like,
much. The stuff I've seen, at
no,
least
but
at the high level, seems like
they
it's the
even
same.
well, they added a couple of things supposedly, and they did keep certain things. Like supposedly they did keep the hidden door in Monstro Town, which I thought was really awesome. That's a Square Enix thing, which is pretty
Mhm.
interesting. So stuff like that, which I'm hoping. I'm going in there pretty blindly with it, so I don't want to be overhyping because that is one of my favorite games of all time. So I want to keep that magic there. So I'm hoping that
That's
it doesn't
interesting.
ruin my life.
I've never played it, so that'll be
play.
interesting to see where I land on that. Because, like I said, my top three is pretty much there. Alan Wake 2 is in my top three, Spider-Man 2, and Final Fantasy 16. So let's see if that'd be interesting if it could knock out 16 for me out of my top three.
Yeah. So
that's pretty much my
we have
list.
so
I
much
mean, Wonder was on there, but we talked about it. Alan Wake, we've talked about a little bit. There's probably some other games we're missing, but I think as far as the big high
Adam,
profile stuff that we've all touched, huh?
we can probably add
Wait.
them as we go. I mean, it's not like it's
If there's
all
anything
be on this
else.
list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if a game comes up in the next month or so that we play that could be a contender, it might pop in here. But I think right now we are all we have something in our minds where I think our game of the year is going to go. So we'll kind of start formalizing that. So we'll get the surveys out before too long and get your input. I think each one of us nominates what
Mm-hmm.
one of the contenders could be,
I
and
think
then we
so,
let everybody else
yeah.
kind of vote on it. Yeah. So all right. Cool.
Okay, so yeah, that looks like that's everything for us.
This went on forever, Chaz. Longest podcast.
I know, my apologies.
It's your fault.
Well,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Forward.
Say that again, gamer. You cut out.
Don't worry about it. Not important.
Go
ahead.
Down in the comments, yeah, we'd love to hear what your guys' picks are right now for your game of the years. Is there something we we left out, or are you gung ho on Zelda? I don't know. That'd be a totally fascinating kind of thing to kind of hear what you guys are saying. I don't know. So I don't know. That's it. We touched on everything for this week. What do we have? I don't even know what's gonna have happened before the next episode.
Well, hopefully by then we'll have finished Alan Wake 2.
RPG will have been out, right? Super Mario RPG. Hopefully, I'll have played Mario Wonder, so I'll be able to give my opinion on that.
If nothing else, maybe we can revisit some of these news topics we skipped over. I think there was some extra meat on the bone that we kind of left there, so there'll be more to talk about next time. We got a whole month to kind of build those news topics back up and see what other games are out there we can dabble with.
No. And then we'll get to talk about Thanksgiving, huh? Talk about your favorite.
Gobble gobble.
Next episode, we'll rank our favorite stuffings, or I don't know.
Rank our favorite bad Thanksgiving movies.
Time for me to go to bed.
Oh, you just want to talk about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Is that the one with Goldberg? Which one is the one with Goldberg?
No, that's Santa's sleigh.
Oh,
isn't
Santa's
it?
sleigh. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Well, that might be fun, like a holiday horror movie, holiday thriller movie ranking or something. I don't know.
Who was it that
'Cause there's some.
recommended that they would love to see us do content for a watch party or something? Watch stupid movies. Was that our buddy Kyle? I think he suggested that.
Oh,
I
maybe
don't know how that would
some
work.
licensing stuff
Copyright
to figure that out. Though.
licensing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be tricky.
All right, everybody. Well, I can tell all three of us are ready to get out of here. I don't know. Of course, on screen there's some audio locations if you guys want to check us out. Any of those. There's also some social medias, and of course down in the YouTube comments, we'd love to hear back from you. So, you guys got anything to say before you go?
No, I think that's about it.
No.
Sleepy time.
All right, gamer, go to bed. We love you
Yay.
guys. We of course can't wait to see you on the next one, and I don't know. Thank you so much. We will see you again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.